All right. Wait, is it live? Yeah, it is live. Hi, everybody. I'm trying to find the watch link so I so that I can turn it off when it's starts playing. There it goes. Okay. Hey everybody. Welcome to Gaytriarchy. And everybody who is watching, which is very few people, try to share this around. Definitely give us a like and a thumbs up is what I mean. That's a like in Facebook language because I don't do particularly well in the algorithms, as people know. So I want this stream to get seen with as many people as possible. So joining us this week, I have both of my two most regular co-hosts. All the way to the left, I have Space Pan. Say hi.
Hello.
Whoa, your mic is really loud.
Oh shit. I forget which way. Is it better now?
A little bit, but maybe more. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Oh, and tell me if I should turn mine down a little bit. Because I've noticed like I watch the playback and my voice ends up being incredibly loud, and I don't think that that's necessary because I can project into my mic anyway. So tell me if I should turn the mic down. Is it fine?
I think it's okay. I'm not wearing my headset right now though. To get that.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, you should go get it so that you don't have to like mute and unmute yourself, because I don't like when you have to do that. Because then you just start writing in the chat anyway, and then you forget that you're like on the show. And
No, but the chat's so fun. It's just so fun.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about that. You have to be an on-air radio-ish personality. That is what I say. And then next to Derek Spacepan, we have Lordy Jordy, with the pink and the sunglasses. He kind of like looks like maybe something that Prince would have wore in concert or something.
Hey y'all, what's up?
And I'm gonna turn you up because I
think I'm having connection issues. Just a second.
You did for a second, but I think it'll probably be fine. Okay, let's see, because you tend to be quiet. And then to the right of him, we have Mitch, formerly known as.
All right, can you hear me? All right.
Yeah, Mitch, formerly known as Charmingman93, who you guys have maybe watched before, and he is a YouTuber that's been around for longer than I have, actually. 2015, yeah.
Yeah. Although my channel original one was made before then, but I never used it.
Yeah, I started in it was 2016, and he's technically not gay, but he is.
What do you mean technically?
Well, I don't know.
I'm straight.
Okay, you're straight. But what I'm gonna say is he is simultaneously cute enough and gay looking enough that I feel like he fits right in to this.
Gay looking enough.
and gay he not entirely non-gay seeming. I mean, he doesn't sound like Milo Yiannopoulos with like the British gay accent, but
I thought he just sounds like a toff. And I never thought he sounded gay, until he told me he was gay, One day he went, Milo Yiannopoulos, like when he said I'm gay and stuff like that, when he first burst onto the scene. It's kind of like, well, I knew about Douglas Murray for years, but I didn't know he was gay until very recently.
Oh, Douglas Murray is my favorite. I was compared
Richard Starkey too. He's gay. I didn't know that for years.
I was compared to Douglas Murray in a comment, and I was so happy. That was like,
for a neocon, he's not bad.
Douglas Murray, I feel like, is the type that I would have a if everything goes well and I end up sticking around as some sort of person somehow involved in media, I want to have an affair with Douglas Murray at some point. That's the thing.
Is he taken? I have a feeling.
I believe that he's taken, but I mean he's also gay, so there's kind of different rules.
Yeah, but it aren't like gay relationships when they actually settle down quite long lasting.
Often they can be. They certainly can be. Yeah, there's weird guys who are like husbands who Well, from what it looks like, we'll go through phases of like never really hanging out with each other and like dating other guys, but then like living together, and then after a year they're back to hanging out with each other all the time, and you see them together. And I don't know. I don't really know. I don't want to say that I have a prognostic of the I guess that this is probably what I would say. This is what I would say. Lesbian relationships tend to be like weird and scary because lesbians stop having sex and they get really, really jealous and bitter. But then a lot of the time they just stay together because they don't know what else to do. They call it lesbian bed death. And like, there's these weird things about it. I have a feeling that gay men, when they partner up, it becomes almost, I mean, oh God, it sounds so bad. It's almost as if the way that men who are business partners maybe view each other as just like, okay, well, we navigate the world well together, and it's going to be hard to separate because this just makes too much sense for both of us. And sometimes we're attracted to each other, maybe not always, and for those other times we'll fool around. So
it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's what I would guess. So, let's see. Hi everybody in the chat, and if you are just tuning in, please do hit that like button so that we get some
smash that like button.
Yeah. So we have a number of topics that we are going to be talking about today. Everybody had things that we wanted to kind of bring up in particular. Spacepan actually has a news story. Mitch brought up, and I think this maybe could be the actual first topic, because I actually demanded that Lordy do homework around this, so maybe we should like start getting into this, which is that he's saying that this is the 5-year anniversary of Gamergate, which
it will be August,
in August, which to me is actually it's pretty interesting if you think about it, because a lot of people don't know this, but Gamergate in a lot of ways has defined the countercultural, it might be like the defining feature of a certain aspect of counterculture which has never existed, which is sort of this like online internet mixed with YouTube mixed with gaming counterculture of it's completely grassroots. It's completely people who consumers and kids and young-ish adults who decide like all kind
there
of
was no kids in the movement. I don't remember seeing any. But
I don't know what you mean by kids, but like okay, like young people, like people.
Okay, right, not boomers.
Not Mr. Repzion is a kid to me.
Even he's like not that much younger than you, right?
How old is he?
I'm pretty sure he's in his 30s now, right?
Oh,
he's been around a long time.
Old. I don't think he's in his 30s yet.
No, he is miraculously a lot younger looking than he actually is. That's like a thing about him. I know that.
27, so he's actually damn, he's been around a long time. It's like
but he still seems like a fucking 16-year-old boy.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
And then there's there was a lot of people who watched those videos and like heard about it and were like, wait, this is strange, who probably were teenagers, and because I remember seeing Anita Sarkeesian videos when I wasn't a gamer and thinking, and like I wasn't skeptical of them at first. Like I was like, oh yeah, I can see how this is likely. And here's the sad thing. Here's the really, really sad thing about it. There are nuggets of truth to this notion that games have traditionally been overwhelmingly a boys' club. Like they have
it's not a boys' club. It's something that has, for whatever reason, appealed to boys.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and then, but as games develop further and there's more things that you can do with them, there are games that are going to definitely appeal to girls, and that they
already exist. Like The Sims, for example, that's something that's played overwhelmingly by women and always has done since it came out.
Yeah, and a lot of RPGs too.
Also, there was a Barbie game on Super Nintendo that was pretty fun. Wow. It was like a side scroller, and you had to like dodge obstacles, and then like there at the end of each level there was like a magazine, and you had to match the look exactly to get bonus points.
But there. Okay, so I always bring this up. I feel like the perfect girl game that shows just how because I've never met a girl who didn't like playing this game, and I like it just because it's just a really well made game. It's for Flower. You can get it on PS4.
Yeah, I've heard of that. It's on PC soon.
Okay. Oh my god, it's so fun. Okay, so the thing is about Flower is that it's based around flying. You fly as if you are the wind. Here, I'm gonna screen share a little bit of the gameplay so that people can look at it because it's so nice. And here's the thing: you can't die or lose in any way in Flower. Like it's just an exploration game. But you do have to. Okay, so I don't want to over explain it, but it becomes non-stressful. Like one of the things I've heard from like my female friends is that they get frustrated in video games because they feel like they're about to die and then they die and then they have to start over and they just don't like that feeling. Whereas Flower isn't like that at all.
It's almost like the women tend to play games that appeal to themselves as women. No, I'm joking.
Okay, so Flower gameplay. So let's do this.
I just don't like that phrase "boys club." It's just
okay.
Oh no, it's just wrong. Like when they say male dominated, right? When they really mean male populated. Exactly, it's just like a way of sneaking in this whole idea. It's like
it implies that it's exclusive when it's not. I mean, it's exclusive that you have to be a gamer, but that's it. Being a gamer could be literally.
Yeah, maybe I should actively work on trying to rephrase myself and say male populated because that might actually totally be better.
She was right, but she phrased it in a way that it was exclusively male, or at least people who are gatekeeping.
Well, yeah, but there is also like there is certain things like about the way that guys act in certain cultures, like gaming cultures. I noticed it. I think that things maybe have changed a lot since then, and I don't think that people. So this is the girly game that I actually like. You fly around, you go close to the petals, and then you pick them up, and then every time you get all of the petals, then it opens up new things and new flowers grow, and then you can make them bloom. And that's all you really do. And you have to use the controller in terms of kinetics, like because the PlayStation controller is actually kinetic, and almost none of the games use that capability. But depending upon which way you point your controller physically, like in relation to your television screen and stuff, you know when you were a kid and you'd play Mario and you would die and you would jerk your arm across like a foot to the side, like hoping that he would jump a little bit further or something. Well, it actually kind of does that. It responds to you in that way, and that's how you control yourself when you're flying around in this game. So it's this weird thing. I feel like more and more games have become appealing to women, and obviously Overwatch is very appealing to women. I think that a lot of the recent Overwatch.
I've never met a woman who's played it.
Oh, well, I know all sorts of women who play it. And I think one of the main reasons is that it's a teamwork oriented game. It's also a game that has some characters are dramatically harder to play than other characters. So like some of the healers and some of the tanks in particular are very easy to play. And so it's like there's some, serious gamers, people, guys who are like 15 and like really, really like all they have is their games. They never want to be the healer. You know what I mean? But then there's females who are like kind of just getting into games for whatever reason, and no one wants to be the healer, and they're like, okay, cool, I'll do it. And then it's like technically a little bit less hard to be the healer, and that's sort of how that game works. But I think it's more like the teamwork aspect, and I do think that Anita Sarkeesian always said she wanted to start a conversation.
Well, now on her terms.
Well, here's the thing. She didn't start a conversation with anybody. She never would talk to anybody. So in terms of her, it was absolutely untrue. But the conversation did get started. And 5 years later, I'm a gamer. I'm a gay guy. I notice in games like Overwatch, there's a lot of females, there's a lot of gay guys, and people are pretty cool to us. I mean, there's occasional times when people are sexist or homophobic, but it's pretty rare. And when it happens, it's actually really stupid. Like, you can report people so that their account gets removed for like all sorts of things, and the people like won't care about it. Like the Overwatch staff, they'll just ignore your report. But if I tell them that they called me a maggot starting with an F, then that person will probably get their accounts removed, which is kind of a strange power that I have. So that is my opening statement about. Oh, oh my god, am I gonna get a copyright strike? I gotta stop that. Hold on. I gotta look in.
You can't get a copyright strike for playing a game. Oh, it's not your. Nah, you'll be fine. It's a YouTuber. He's not going to do anything to you.
Let's see. I'm gonna stop screen sharing. So let me just take a look. So that's my opening shtick about all that type of stuff. Like, I feel like there kind of was actually oddly a conversation that ended up being started, and things have changed, and that's actually kind of cool. But it's not the conversation.
Well,
I don't think it's the conversation that the feminists wanted. Is what I'm going to say.
Well, the thing is, the only things that have changed is the games are becoming more social justice influenced, and the people that she wanted more representation of in the community were already there. You know, and their numbers would have already have increased anyway. Like, I remember when I was at university, I joined the local gaming society. I mean, there was a video games one and there was a board games one for some reason, rather than the overall big one, considering we all used to play video games and play D&D together. Like, there was like women, men, trans people, gays, straights, bisexuals, whatever, you know, you name it, you know? So like, the idea that the community has changed demographics wise hasn't really. It's always been that way, as far as I'm aware.
Yes, that's hard to say because I wasn't playing video games up until about.
Well, I've been playing for 21 years. So
yeah, I mean, I've been playing for a lot longer, but I skipped 2000 from 2005 to 2015. I took off, but I've been playing. I got a Nintendo when I was like 5, and I had a Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, Nintendo 64, PlayStation 1, you know what I mean? Like, I was like that kind of guy. So, but I just don't really know about that. But what I'm saying is that, like, I think that the feminists, that the biggest thing that came from Gamergate probably was this counterculture of YouTubers who got really good at, making these really, really critical evidence-based videos.
Yeah, I mean, Sargon, I remember he did I don't know if it was a series of videos or it was one video where he basically managed to track down and look into all the connections that the Sarkeesian and these gaming journalists had. And it all led to the same source. And it was quite fascinating. Yeah, I might be remembering a few things wrong, but they were all connected. I mean, there was a Games Journals Pro emailing list where people who were meant to be in competition with each other were basically emailing each other about articles and stuff. Yeah. Now, and there was this whole Gamers Are Dead thing that happened where everybody released 10 articles and 9 more in the space of 48 hours. Yeah. Yeah. Like, attacking all gamers because of Gamergate. And it left me wondering, there is definitely collusion going on. Apparently, Games Journal Pros never actually proved that those particular articles were planned, but I think it was. They probably just didn't use that one.
Oh, it obviously was. But yeah, that's, and it's a strange thing with all that stuff because like, you can tell if you're an actual gamer that every game that comes out gets all these ridiculously high reviews. It's all like 10 out of 10 says every magazine ever. And then it's like actually not a very good game. And the only way to really find out if a game is good is if you talk to people.
Exactly. Yeah. I used to play a lot of football manager games, soccer guys, to be more specific. And like, I used to get frustrated constantly because they were getting worse and worse, but the reviews remain the same. 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10. And it's like, well, what I'm seeing is completely different to what they're seeing. So what the hell? And now you're seeing that reflection in movies when before there was more parity, I feel. I mean, it depended. Like, in the 80s, there was a similar thing with Death Wish where like the critics hated it, but the audiences loved it.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to remind people to smash that like button because yeah, please do. And I want to ask very specifically. I want to ask Lordy Jordy here. I did you watch those videos that I asked you to?
Yes, I did. About Anita and stuff.
So I had him watch the PSA Stitch Gamergate video because I felt like
classic.
Yeah. That was kind of a like overview of it, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I had him watch how Anita Sarkeesian spent $1 million. I had him watch who is harassing Anita Sarkeesian, and I had him watch Margaret McClellan or whatever. Anita,
McLaughlin.
Yeah, Anita, it's time to stop. Just because I wanted to, I actually, her video, Anita, it's time to stop, was actually really it was good in showing just how absurd all of it actually was. Like this girl gamer being like, "Oh, shut up," you know, like so what did you think as somebody who had like was previously pretty unfamiliar with this?
Yeah, when I remember when it all went down and I saw the Gamergate headlines back in the day, and at that time I never investigated in it and I had no real idea of what was going on. So to actually watch the PSA was the first time I got an actual backstory. And I'm glad that I never like passed any form of judgment, because as soon as it became really clear as soon as I watched the McLaughlin video, because she broke it down to how it was mostly about money and how this had become a lucrative role for her to play, and I'm very much
Anita,
that Anita, and I'm very much aware of the way that shills are used to push socialist agendas, and the what was I gonna? I just saw that. Oh, I liked how at the end of the PSA it really remarked how this was one of the notable moments that an entire community of people actually successfully pushed back against a SJW driven narrative, which I thought was cool.
Okay. And how do you feel? Do you have anything to add, Spaceman, about it?
Yeah, I mean, that I think was the major takeaway from Gamergate, is that the pattern of how SJWs infiltrate things kind of gets mapped onto things all over the place. And like when they went after the gamers, that was like the one time when there actually was some kind of a backlash. And like you can kind of tell by how it all unfolded. Like the Gamers Are Dead articles are a great example of that. Like they didn't expect anything to happen. They thought they were invincible, basically. Well, but like looking back at it, I mean, it seems like people are now a little bit more kind of black-pilled on Gamergate, which is interesting.
Yeah, it's because
like people kind of looking back at it, like they didn't really win. Like it was kind of ultimately the SJWs won, which. Yeah,
it was events. Well, what happens? Like we had this thing called Airplay, which was, I think, was nowhere near as good as some people thought it was at the time. So basically, we managed to get a dialogue, but with the neutrals, because this guy who came from the outside invited everybody to talk about journalistic ethics, things like that. The SJW, were like, no, the games journalists did not turn up. And in fact, SJW sent in bomb threats.
Oh, right. That was the thing. That there was, I think it was like Christina Hoff Summers, Milo, and Kathy.
There was a few others. Yeah, there was a few others about Ash Shao, people like that. Derek Smart was there. And
that horrible MRA, Kathy Newman, or not Kathy Newman, Kathy what is her name?
Young.
Yeah. I one time asked like some feminist that was talking crap about MRAs and obviously didn't know anything about it. I was like, can you actually name maybe 3 MRAs? And she was like, I don't know. So she was able to name Paul Elam, and then she was like, okay, I can't name another one. Kathy, and I think Kathy Young. I was like, oh my God, you are so pathetic. Like you are exactly the stereotype of like what people talk about when, you know, like nobody actually knows anything about MRAs, to the point where they don't even know, like they can't. It's like Warren Farrell, Karen Strawn, like at all. Come on, it's not that hard.
I've got his book, by the way. But like after that, I think there was a video which probably ended it, and that was Sargon saying that we'd won. And I was like, no, we haven't even gotten far enough, because the same people are still in the same fucking
positions of power.
Positions. Well, it's just power. Just they're in the same jobs and the same companies around. Gawker was gone. Gawker got destroyed by Hulk Hogan.
But Jezebel never fucking went away.
No, it never went away. Kotaku never went away. Polygon never went away. And the problem is a lot of the independent media didn't blow up the way it probably should have done, like Comicsgate has. And these people were exerting influence behind the scenes.
But here's the absurdity of the whole argument.
I'm not finished yet. And the problem is they were exerting influence behind the scenes, and a lot of the developers actually were probably more influence and receptive to these ideas than we thought, which is now we're seeing decline in gaming sales and shit like that.
Okay.
The ridiculous aspect of the whole thing is that the gaming world is a virtual world, and each person who participates in it gets to choose how they want to represent themselves in that world. So the whole idea of like that games are trying to force people into narratives or something is like, it is to me just absurd. And then pointing out that it's a consumer driven industry anyways, and so they're always listening to what the customer wants, and they're designing games around that. They're listening in on the chatter all the time. And so it's like to even say that, if anything, it's like, to me, I would imagine that the world of gaming is an amazing space for someone of, let's say, a female who might want to experience what it's like to not be judged for being a female, or not have to take on certain societal stigmas from feminism, because she can choose to represent herself as whatever she wants within that space.
Absolutely, it's completely meritocratic, and I actually made a whole video about that well over a year ago. It's called "Why Does the Political Establishment Attack Video Games?" And it's because of the fact that they're meritocratic that I believe that they would do that. They have a problem with people actually being equalized as people. They want to be able to pit us against each other with identity politics. So they tried desperately. I think that the best way to look at it coming into the future, and then I think that we should move on to a new topic, because it doesn't seem like this is a particularly popular one with the audience, just saying. They've been kind of the viewer count's been meandering, because I think, this has been talked about a lot. But I would say that the whole Gamergate thing was probably organized with the Obama propaganda package. You know what I mean? Like, Obama passed the legalization of propaganda. I think that the bill passed in 2012, but it came into law in 2013, as far as I can remember. And I think that probably what happened is that they decided, okay, so we're going to start pushing this into, obviously into blogs. We're going to start pushing it into the former public media that we are now buying out, like NPR and PBS, which obviously became Democratic Party shill stations. And we're gonna, they had a few other ideas, and one of the things was, we're gonna push social justice propaganda into video games, and they got a bunch of journalists to try to do it, and they probably somehow convinced developers to do it. And that's where games like Mass Effect 5 or whatever that became all social justice-y kind of came from. And these games are, from what I hear, like, Overwatch could definitely be said to be like sort of social justice-y, but it's also just an amazing game. But most of these games just end up kind of being bad. And I think that the thing is that, like, these games get planned, like, it takes, probably like about 3 years to develop one of these AAA games. And so this game, Mass Effect, got probably released in 2017. It was probably planned starting in 2014 when the propaganda was being, really, like they thought that this stuff was supposed to be popular or whatever. That's what, people acted like social justice was popular. It turned out not to be, and now pop culture is very, very clearly rejecting this. And people, there's like, obviously people hate it. I do think that in the future, more and more games will kind of go back to sort of what they used to be, kind of like the Grand Theft Auto things that people loved a lot, which are very not...
Which are probably loved by women, honestly.
Oh, they are! Women love Grand Theft Auto. I've known so many women who like I don't even have any sort of theory about why. Like I don't know why, but they do. They love Grand Theft Auto.
It would be nice to think that, but companies also act irrationally, not just rationally.
Yeah.
Like it's an economic thing that they don't just look for profits in terms of actual money, but also mental profits. I forgot what it was. There's a video by an academic agent that explains it. Some of you out there might know what I mean.
I don't think that companies are that stupid. I think
they are.
Well, I think that companies are a little bit smarter than we give them credit for, but I think that they can be influenced by stupid people. And one of the stupid people that they were influenced by was whoever with the Obama administration actually thought it was a good idea to try to like push a gigantic propagandistic monolithic narrative of intersectional feminist social justice on to the world, and that nobody would push back against this. Like, yeah, it took a few years for everybody to fully like push back, but now we are pushing back pretty hard. Like, but if you're working for a company and a number of journalists come in and they're like, so if you make a social justice game, we are going to promote this game so much, and it's the future of gaming, blah 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 blah. And they have all these charts about how more and more women and blah 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 are playing games, and it could seem like a good idea for a second, but then when it turns out not to be, never again, because video game company is a very very they make a lot of money. They make lots of money, and so that's what I was gonna say. But
it doesn't really matter because one, the gaming community is known for having a lot of people who just buy the games anyway. They complain, then they buy it. And also we've got the people who are impulse buyers, the 80% who will buy a game, then not buy the more hardcore games. They'll just buy it anyway. Gaming.
It's not about selling games. It's about eyes on the screen.
I mean, just look at the people.
And they're going to be pushing a narrative. The whole idea that I think it's very astute, Prince, that you notice that this started in 2013 and 14, and that there is about a 3-year cycle. So pay more attention to the games that are coming out now that have been started post 2016 election, that are good, because all of the media that's coming out now is shifting in the narrative, because fiction at this point, in my opinion, has more relevance to people's lives than what's being served up as supposed news.
Yeah, I would say that that's true. But like, okay, let's move away from gaming, just because like I have a feeling we could move on to an entirely different topic, and it might be popular. Let's talk about Mitch's hair real quick. Anybody? Okay, first of all, smash the like button if you want to see Mitch's hair, and also super chats, very appreciated if you want to see Mitch's hair. He got a haircut today, and he briefly showed us like before, and I thought it was pretty cute, but I kind of want to take a look at it again. So
all right, I know why.
Well, so I was trying to give him advice on how to do his hair, and here I'm gonna actually look at show you guys his video that I was looking at from a few days ago, because I actually felt like his hair is good in it, and so I'm gonna screen share that.
I actually didn't even comb it. Well, did I? I did something with it. I don't know. It was messy hair then.
Hold on one second. I am going to screen share myself. Wait, that's not how I do it. I do this thing.
I mean, I have like intentionally bad hair. Like I've been having a mullet for the past like 3 years because like it's just so fun. Like it started off as a joke, like an inside joke with myself, and now I just have a mullet and I just like can't get rid of it. I just love it.
Okay, so I think Mitch looks really cute with that hair, and this is full queer eye for the straight guy candor, which would be that Mitch is a very handsome man, but his most awkward feature is that he does have kind of a big forehead, and so when he has his hair like that, you can't really tell, and it actually looks as if his hair is a part of the forehead, and it actually really works. And so I was like, yeah, keep the hair on top because that is what's going to work. And so he took my advice and got a haircut based around my advice. And maybe if I get a good super chat, he'll show us.
She fucked it up.
I don't think she really did though that bad, because I think that but I want to talk about it after I get this super chat that I swear to God is coming. Come on, guys. It'll come in a second. I swear. I swear. And so like, okay. What do you guys think about Queer Eye for the Straight Guy? What do you think about this notion of gay guys giving advice to straight guys? I remember hearing one time an SJW talking about how she found it disconcerting that gay men were in media to be props and helpers to straight people or something, and that bothered her, which I thought was actually kind of silly and also sort of what's the word? Dismissive to gay men's general role in society.
Can I rephrase that? So she basically said it really upsets her when she sees people getting along, trying to support and be helpful.
Just being normal human beings.
Well, I think that she was, or something like maybe if the straight people were helping the gay people, that would make her happy or something. But except for she's a feminist and she never does. So I don't know. I don't know what that
right. God forbid you help someone unconditionally without expecting them to owe you something or have to have helped you first.
People help each other. People help each other. What's wrong with helping each other? Should we just, well, they do actually advocate for segregation. So like, I don't know what I'm saying. What are they? Yes.
I wonder if she would get upset in video games too. She'd be like, "Oh, you're the support. Oh, a support character, huh? You're just gonna heal and buff people and not kill things yourself."
Oh, look at that!
Support, that's gay.
Gay.
I did actually get a super chat. I did get a super chat. Andrew Privateer says $4.99 gay dudes who aren't SJW morons. Can someone teach my brother your ways? I technically can, yeah, but he might cry for like a little while because it's actually brutal to realize that
oh yeah,
like how the world like okay. The way to get to snap gay guys out of being SJWs is to make them realize that they're going to be happiest in life long term if they learn how to navigate life in the way that straight men navigate.
How did gay men let women steal their quality sexual experiences from them? I want to know.
Well, wait, that's a different. Okay, that's the you just totally change the subject. What I'm saying is, gay men are going to be happier if they learn to first see themselves as a man and then learn to see themselves as a gay man, as opposed to living in this weird little alternate reality where you are part of this social justice item or something that sometimes like you're a currency and you're going up in value and falling in value and blah blah blah. You don't have to actually view yourself in that way. Like you can first just be like, okay, well, mainly I'm a guy. Mainly I and sure, like for me as an individual, I do end up talking about being a gay, especially on the Gaytriarchy. But that would be my advice to Mr. Super Chat guy. But it sucks to realize that you don't get to fall back on being first gay then a guy, and then like having to like compete with straight guys and stuff, because it's hard to compete with straight guys. It's unpleasant if you're not used to it. That's what
That's why we reach out towards women as shields.
Yeah. Don't let them tease me. Tell them that you won't have tell them that you won't have sex with them if they're mean to me.
I think what happens too is a lot of people with all these like anxieties about dealing with other people, particularly straight men, if they just like learned a little bit about men's issues, then they'd realize like, oh, it's not about me. Like they actually have problems, that they're actual like real three-dimensional people with their own issues, and I think that that's kind of what's lacking, is there's so much focus on people's problems from every other group that people don't actually like see straight men as like people. They just like see them as
No, I
threats.
don't know.
Yeah. Well, and being able to acknowledge that even that it is about being a gay man too, because your experience as a gay man is going to be different than a gay woman, right? And you have to take that the fact that being a male has its own cup of tea that comes with it.
Assuming gay women are real.
I remember Danny Duchamp. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's like a libertarian / ANCAP YouTuber. He's bi. And he said that he doesn't think lesbians exist.
I exaggerate though. It is definitely true that there is an extremely small percentage of women who never find themselves attracted to men their whole life. I every lesbian I know has at least gone through phases where they swear that they are attracted to men and they're having sex with men and everything. But
I've pulled lesbians, yeah.
But there's a chance that they are just experimenting, because I think it's a lot easier for women to experiment because they just sort of lie there.
I was never interested in that, to be honest.
You were never what?
Never interested in it, experimenting. I was just like, yeah, just give me the pussy, boss. You know. I'm not a very experimental person.
Yeah,
I think my sister, but I'm not sure. She said she was, but I've never seen her actually be with a girlfriend or anything. Always seems to have boyfriends.
Well, so why were you so interested in coming on Gaytriarchy?
Because I like your content. Because
Oh.
you're an intelligent guy and your co-hosts are lovely.
Oh.
Also, Chadwick's a legend as well. So.
So you wanted to be the legendary Shadow?
Leeching. That's what I'm doing. No, I'm joking.
Well, Chadwick's going to be a semi-regular guest, so maybe someday you'll get to meet him.
It's good because he's just like, kind of reminds me of Milo, but he's more sane, you know.
Yeah, he's not like a provocateur in the way that Milo is. Well, but he can be. Yeah.
But it's more like I don't think he intends to be. He kind of just is provocative.
No, I think that he intends to be when he does it. I think that Milo can't help himself.
Yeah. What a decline and fall he had. Wow.
Yeah, well, no, but Milo will be back though, is the thing. Like,
yeah,
Milo is actually a brilliant man. Like, he's not like I think a lot of people want to think of Milo as a one-trick pony, just because they got sick of him, and also he got isolated. I think that Milo personally got isolated in his own sort of maybe like an echo chamber of his own creation, where he was surrounded by people who wanted to talk about the Milo topics, and then it was like because he was this larger than life person that everybody around him was used to hearing him talk all day, every day. And it's like, how do you come down from that and just be a normal person and talk about things that, like your family or like whatever, things that normal people like would talk about to friends? I imagine that most of the people around him never knew how to do that. And then he probably had trouble differentiating himself from the character that he had created. So now that people are starting to, like, so many people actively kind of reject him, he's going to have a lot of time to sort of regroup and think about who he is again, I think. And then he's going to come back and he's going to have some new thing to say. And I think it's probably going to be good, but it'll take a while. It'll take a while because we did, I mean, media, the collective zeitgeist of viewers did get sick of Milo. And for very good reason. He was fucking everywhere.
He really was. I didn't get sick of him.
I still like him. I can still tune in and find him entertaining. But I don't really tune in.
The problem with Douglas Murray is he's great when he's interviewed. For some reason, he comes to life, right? Mm-hmm. And he gets angry and frustrated and passionate, and it comes out very well. Mm-hmm. But when he does a speech, maybe it was just this one speech, but he was doing a speech at a university, and he bored me to death. Mm-hmm. I just thought, no, I'd rather read the book, and I have the book, so. Yeah, he was doing it about the Strange Death of Europe, and he has a book that was meant to be re-released recently called Islamophilia, and that's not been re-released yet. It really annoys me. I want to read that.
What do you like about Douglas Murray? Can I ask?
He just speaks a lot of sense, really. And I'm interested in the philosophy behind it as well. I've been getting into that a lot, so I just want to hear what a lot of speakers are saying right now, because he's one of the big thinkers of our time. And I'd like to go down that route eventually if I'm smart enough. But oh well, I'm going to try. I'm going to try and improve my content by just reading, and then when I've got the time, script a good video. That's why I want to do history videos, because I can also just explain to people how we've got to where we are, but also just have fun. Yeah, I think history can be used in the culture war in a way, but at the same time, I don't like politicizing history. But if I have to use it as a weapon, I will, because they do.
You don't like the what?
I don't like the politicization of history that's been going on in the universities and by activists, because they always go on about.
Oh, you mean the selective editing of history? Because I don't like.
Yeah, that. And also, there is a postmodern. There's always been for decades now a postmodernist push to basically deconstruct and reconstruct history in their image.
Yeah,
just communism, Yeah,
and, like what's his name? Paulo Freire.
I think he may be one of them.
He is. I talked about him in my video. Intersectional feminism is communist.
Oh yeah.
He's the guy. He's the guy who wrote the book Pedagogy of the Oppressed, which is one of the most it's one of the most commonly taught books about education in the world, and it's
by a critical theorist who's also an historian called Joan. What was she called? Joan. Fuck, what was she called again? Joan something. Sorry. Here she is. Joan Scott. She's like a intersectional feminist historian. Some of the things she's written is not too bad, right? Mm-hmm. Like some of the things she said, it makes sense. However, this is a complete. Oh my god. Basically, what she wants is history to become basically a subset of critical theory. I'm going to post it in the chat. We don't need to go through it, but I'm eventually, when I get around to it,
this is how irritating concepts of postmodernism actually are,
because they see history as this thing that the patriarchy has created to oppress people.
Yeah, or no, it's not even just the patriarchy. It's anybody
Western civilization. Yeah,
no, not even necessarily Western civilization. It's anybody at any given time that they decide they want to discredit. It could be like if I told a story and everybody believed my story, they would probably like naturally want to doubt me because everybody believed my story or something. Like that sort of seems like their mentality, except for if a black person tells a story and it's non-believable, then they're supposed to believe it or something. Maybe that's where Jussie Smollett came from. I don't know. I don't know.
I remember when I was briefly back at uni, they were going on and on and on about try not to be Eurocentric. Should we be trying to recreate, try and find all these lost voices, things that sometimes we can't necessarily find. In essence, we're kind of filling in the gaps or making it up. And it's like, we can't do that as historians, and they're obsessed with marginalized voices. And I remember once one person complained that because I talked to her a lot in debates that I disliked her because she was black. As if to say, you, even though I'm not white, but this is what I think she was thinking. This uppity white person is talking back to me, which I wasn't talking back to her at all. But
yeah. No, I used to get that crap a lot. Like right when the social justice stuff came out in San Francisco, and it wasn't. And Lordy actually has a pretty hefty story about this that he's told on air about a classmate that basically did that to him, in a really, really sinister way. His one. You could tell it in a second just to remind people. It was very blatant. It was like, and the same thing happened to me. Okay, so I remember being in a situation when some friend of mine actually, she was a black female, and I think she posted something talking about, I don't know, feeling discriminated against as a black person. And I was like, oh man, that sounds really rough. And I think I maybe briefly said something about me being gay and feeling like that one time. And some girl who was all like mixed Asian was like, that is really not appropriate that you say this to a person of color in a conversation about blah 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 blah, you do not experience this form of discrimination, blah 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 blah. And I was like, oh well, I understand how a non-white person like might have a different experience, but I was trying to actually relate to this. And she was like, how absolutely dare you say not white when you mean person of color, and blah 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 blah. This shows how, you know, uneducated you are, but it's not my job to educate you. And I wrote her a message in private in good faith. I was like, okay, well, going with your strain of not wanting to you know, talk on my friend's timeline, which is what you're saying. I hope that we could be cool, because I actually really like my friend. And she was like, she flipped out and said basically, how dare you write to me in private? I'm a person of color, white boy, and she blocked me. And it was like actually like that. And it was it was so aggressive and so like they felt like they like it was literally as if somebody came and told them, hey, for the record, I'm gonna give you preemptive permission to be the racial privileged class, but it's not going to take full effect for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, but just act like it already is in the meantime. That's sort of what they acted like.
Yeah, I remember like I was in this class when I was doing my degree, and I was just talking about the difference between Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. I can't remember exactly what I said, but I was trying to compare, you know, maybe Martin Luther King being from a middle class background and Malcolm X coming from a more working class background in the North. That might have influenced how they saw things. And this white guy just was like, how can you say such a thing? I'm like, what am I saying that's so bad? I challenged him and he backed down. He backed down. I'm like, well, we can have a debate. Bring it. He's like, oh no. Oh, sorry.
Lordy, could you briefly tell the story of the class? I mean, you've told this on air probably 2 times already, but I'd like you to just briefly tell Mitch, in case other audience members have not heard it, because it is pretty messed up. It is pretty messed up, and from what I understand, this is one of the reasons you dropped out of your program.
Yeah, I had this like battle with a girl in my somatic psychotherapy course. We were doing like a group therapy session in a class exploring ruptures between the client and a therapist. And it was being led by this one woman who was of Indian descent. And
what Indian? Is that Native American or subcontinent?
No, from India.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. Mind you, we're in like a private graduate school that doesn't really have grants and stuff like this. So everybody there is pretty well off if they're there. Anyways, so she's leading the discussion about ruptures based around like a cultural insensitivity in a therapist and their client, and how that made you feel as a client to be unseen by your therapist or whatever. And so I chose to enter the conversation by sharing a personal story, not in response to anybody, but just to share an experience of coming out as a 17-year-old to my therapist at the Jewish Community Center. I'm not Jewish, but my therapist was at that center, and not being like met at that time by an understanding person who I felt could give me real insight or guidance, and how that was a challenging experience for me. And as soon as I finished sharing that, she just completely shot down my whole experience, like claimed that it was complete, that I was trying to steal attention or something, and distract from the topic of racial oppression or something like that, and just completely shot me down. And I was really offended in the moment, because I actually had opened up quite a bit. So I felt really, really hurt, and I was like, wow, I was didn't know what to do, and I just stood up as soon as she was done belittling me, and I just walked out of the room.
and I always like to think that as soon as he shut the door, they were like, that's called white fragility.
I would probably have said something that would have got me reported, knowing me. By the way, I had one lecturer who, because I he wasn't even in front of anybody. We were just chatting in class because it takes me a while to know people when I go to a new, like, where it's a big place. If it's at work, it's weird. I'm pretty good at making friends. But like when it's like a educational place, it takes me a while to find my feet. So I was on my own, not because I was being an asshole or anything. It's just awkward. And she came and talked to me, and we're just chatting. We got a bit of a debate, and she used her own authority as an argument. I said, that's appeal to authority. Apparently, that's undermining her authority. You know?
Yeah.
Fucker, you know, I don't care.
I
Things like
My way of getting back in that moment was that I made the entire rest of the class be about repairing the experience with me. Like we spent the entire rest of the class with me trying to talk about how I felt through that whole moment. So, so it just completely hijacked the conversation.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think that's everybody could probably emotionally feel that there's something dramatically unjust had just happened, at least. But there was, you know,
well, you got a hope.
In San Francisco, because all of that stuff I think really came from the Berkeley, Oakland area, and the scholars or scholar-ish people at Berkeley University, and also just the activist circles in Oakland and stuff. Like there was this crazy blog called Black Girl Dangerous, which I sometimes use video footage of the woman who founded it. Her name is Mia McKenzie, and she is a lunatic. Like she's just the craziest, you know, like she has I think she had a one of her viral things that she made was a 9 ways not to be an ally, and it was just like, you are never good enough, white people, you know, and like that kind of crap. And like that's kind of what it was. And when that stuff started it was really 2013, 2014. It was so sudden, and they were so aggressive towards white gay men in particular. It was like, just so you know, y'all are kicked out. And they made for absolute sure to tell us all the time that like we were not included in whatever like new parameters they had just defined. And that hit in San Francisco because, you know, San Francisco is the mecca of gay men in the United States. Like you can go to, like, you'll find gay men everywhere in San Francisco, but you can go to neighborhoods where it's hard to not find gay men, you know, like where everyone is gay. Like if you go to the Castro neighborhood, it's like, okay, sometimes the gay men have female friends with them. Like, but that's pretty much unanimously gay guys. You walk down the street and you'll smell 3 different distinct colognes, you know, on a block. And, you know, that's what it's like. And for all of a sudden in your own city to have these people being like, just so you know, y'all is the privileged ones and we taking over. And that was sort of the attitude. It was very sudden, and it was very strange. And then, you know, 2 or 3, 4 years later, I'm hearing all sorts of other people talking about like, yeah, this ended up happening at my university, and I'm like, oh, huh. And then so just like bringing that up.
It was definitely trained into me. I went to liberal arts, you know, school at NYU. From coming from Southern California.
Were you at Gallatin?
No, I was in the media program in Steinhardt, but I did take a course on whiteness that was through the Gallatin program.
Okay.
I remember like there was one. Go on, sorry.
Oh no, just the course on whiteness was a practice in bullshit artistry 101.
Oh, sorry, I thought you finished.
No, I'm done.
Well, I remember there was one, oh my God, this woman, right? There was one lecturer, right? She wasn't from America, right? But she went to work there. And her thing was her historical subject, although I don't know if she was actually from history originally, but her big thing was Black history, right? Specifically the Black nationalists, right? And this is a white lecturer. And when I walk in, and I hear her voice, I'm like, what is going on? Because she had this slight Ebonics tinge to her voice. and she was in New York or something. She was somewhere in the East Coast, right? She had tenure there for a while. And I'm thinking, there's no way you went and hung out at the Bronx, because she was definitely trying to have that bit of a street tinge to her voice, like black. This,
Oh, like
that, you know,
like when Kamala Harris tries to sound like kind of black.
When a posh person tries to sound working class, basically, but she's trying to sound like a working class black guy, you know, well, woman, and she was like, you know, I was going near and I was interviewing. I can't even do a voice because it's so weird.
Is that what they call blackfishing?
I don't know what it's called, but she said she would talk to these black nationalist people, and then she would never talk to the white nationalists. You know, as a historian, she would never get the opposite side. And I'm like, this is such a fake person. And I was there just to learn about oral history, and I'm like, this is the wrong person. I can't take her seriously because her voice is so fake. And these are the types of people that run the fucking universities, man.
Yeah.
You think when Rachel Dolezal happened that she was like so pissed? She was like, "Oh, that could have been me. That woman stole my life."
If I was like a black nationalist and I was hearing her speak, I'm like, I would have been scratching my head like, is this person real?
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't surprise me if she's the type of person that would kiss the black Israelites like boot, you know?
It's countless examples of people using things like, whether it be a black culture or trying to pose as a Native American, cough, Elizabeth Warren, cough, in order to move forward in society, capitalizing on the supposed affirmative systems that have been put in place.
Yeah.
I just remember one time I was in like a poli-sci class and somebody had brought up like, so many people are racist. Now that Obama's the president, people are saying he's the Antichrist. And I'm just like, well, what if he is the Antichrist? Like, he kind of fits the description. Like, you know, like, why not? And this black chick was just like, oh my God. Like, it's like so offensive.
I saw a really funny compilation video the other day. It was it was from the Huffington Post, and it was, "We will never forget how Republicans treated Obama." And it was mainly news pundits, you know, like Ann Coulter showed up like 6 or 7 times in it. And people like that, maybe like, I don't know, Sean Hannity, like people that like, I don't really watch very much, probably mostly like cable news type people. But they did mention the birth certificate. They did mention that you weren't allowed to criticize him because he was black, which was true. That was like the more and more, you know, Republicans that now I get to know, they're like, no, it was horrible. We never criticized him for being black. We knew that we couldn't. We tried to criticize the issues, and they always said that it was a racial criticism. It was horrible. And I was like, oh my God, that is what happened to you, probably. Because yeah, all I ever heard was Republicans don't like him because he's black. That's all I ever heard about Republicans. And then it turned out they have all these millions of things. But overall, they did mention that you weren't allowed to criticize him because he was black. They did mention that they felt that one guy said that he felt that there was a large percentage of people in America that wouldn't vote for him because he was black, which is just an observation and a guess, which is probably not entirely untrue. And he and then there was somebody there's a few people who talked about his birth certificate, which I've never like really looked at the evidence around the birth certificate, so I don't want to know if it seems like there was any evidence at all. I just don't know.
But he wouldn't have been.
But aside from that, well, I don't fucking know, dude. I mean, he was such a horrible president at this point. It's amazing. It's amazing to think about what things that were possible. But I'm not going to be that type of conspiracy theorist that just like assumes something is true because other people say so. I just have no idea. But I wouldn't, you know, like, hey, if they are so convinced that it's okay to say that Russians stole the election for Trump because reasons, then it's totally okay to actually look at the evidence about the birth certificate, is what I'm going to say. But regardless, 90% of the actual compilation from the Huffington Post was talking about how he was ruining the economy, talking about that he was trying to be a socialist, trying to talk about like they were like, we have never seen a president destroy America so quickly and like all these things. But like if you actually go through his administration and like, you know, look at like the way that the national debt rose, you know, way quicker than any other president, and look at all of these things that you know you can actually like tangible things, those were legitimate criticisms, and that was 90% of the video. And then you look in the comments and all the comments are like, wow, I can't believe how all they were doing was criticizing him for being black. like that's like all that they do. Like they can only make it about that issue. And you have to wonder how many of these people like have been conditioned to see that even though it wasn't there, and how many of them just are trying to condition other people to see that. Do you know what I'm saying?
I know what you mean, yeah.
Well, and that to me is the definition of racism. Like, if you first see things through through a lens of color, and so that everything is interpreted that way, then you're a racist.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I actually made a video called like the three types of interpersonal racism, and one of them was like ignorance racism, where it's spawned because you don't necessarily hate the other people, but you think that they're probably all the same because you don't really know any of them. You know, so it'd be like, oh, do Chinese or like not okay. In the 1980s, there was this stereotype that Asian exchange students and tourists were constantly snapping pictures. And if you had never met an Asian person, you would maybe think that they all did that, you know? And so that would be like ignorance racism. And then the next would be like actual hatred racism, you know, where it's like, you just like, I don't know, you are a black guy who grew up in a dangerous meth-ridden rural city where everybody like also hated you for being black because you were like one of the only black guys there. So the tweakers would fuck with you all the time and try to fight you when they were high or some crap. And so that would be like, okay, I hate white people. I'm, you know, or those white people hated the black people. Like that would be like hatred racism, you know? And then there's the obsession racism, as I like to call it, which is everything to you is about race. Like you just see the world through race-colored glasses. And that is like maybe the most pervasive and damaging. I mean, hatred racism is pretty darn bad, but we at least have utilities on how to disarm it. Like we've at least like been through the ways of like, how do we get people to stop hating each other? But nobody has really like come up with like a whole bunch of like academic work about how do we get people to stop being obsessed with race.
Okay, right. So what I'm hearing is like, first we had ignorance racism, which was also just based on, you know, a disconnected world. Now people have television and the internet and all this kind of stuff, and you're like, oh wow, there's so many different kinds and types, you know. So then ignorance racism basically doesn't make sense anymore. And then you have like what you're talking about, like hatred racism, which is also socioeconomic. It's very class based, and that's being addressed through various kinds of different programs, especially in the last couple of years with criminal reform and funding. But then this third racism is the manufactured one, because it's like they were losing ground in the other two, so they had to come up with a new prescription.
But I think it's almost like a side effect. I think it's more like they talked so much about the other two ones as if they were still a thing when they mostly really weren't. And then the side effect was this new form that they like nobody had really seen before, and it's completely dominating the West at the moment. So yeah, I don't remember how
at least in urban settings.
I don't remember how we got there. So hey everybody, if you're watching and you have not hit the like button, please do. And remember, if you want to see Mitch's haircut, give me a super chat that says something along those lines. My finances are pretty rough right now. Gotta say. So it would be pretty cool because I am dealing with stuff in my personal life that I'm trying to, you know, have fun and get money with super chats. No guilt. And I want to kind of move on to a new topic because we have some things that are in the queue. Spacepan wanted to talk about some story. Would you like to screen share and I'll present you to everybody so that we can look at that story?
Oh, sure. Okay, so I have to click
The green thing.
that green thing. Is it working?
Not yet, but I'm presenting you to everybody. So when it is, we will see.
Looks like we have a shill in our chat.
Do we?
Yeah, Elsa Vivington looks like a
Oh, I
total
think
shill.
I think she's been here before, so I think she just got a hate boner for us.
Oh, good.
Hello, Elsa. How
Because
you doing?
how dare we criticize Obama? How dare we?
It's a great name. I like.
There is no evidence that Warren benefited from any affirmative action programs.
Well, okay, here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. She's not entirely just a hater. She
adores us all.
No. She's I think agreeing with fine-tuned details of some of the things I was saying is what it kind of looks like, because the evangelicals did not like the idea of a black president. They voted to destroy the office of the president. There might be some truth to that. I would say, though, it's probably not the evangelicals that were so much racist. I would just say that there are just racists. And the guy who said that probably said that in 2008. And he probably just didn't know any better. And then it turned out
what was the vote to destroy the office of the president?
That I don't know what she's saying. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. She says the national debt is rising much more quickly under Trump. Yes and no. Okay. So for one, once it's okay, there is the thing where, you know, if you make smart investments, you do have to invest money at first, but then it will eventually pay off. So that could be going on. And for another thing, if Obama, you know, everybody said that the only reason the national debt rose under Obama was because of Bush's wars and the financial collapse. So, you know, Obama's just entirely let off the hook for his entire 8 years of catastrophic national debt rising. We should allow Trump at least the first half of his term for Obama's catastrophic debt rising before we totally judge him, if we were to judge Obama in that way. That's what I will say.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. You can't just look at a number like a national debt and think that that suddenly explains everything.
Yeah.
I'm glad though that now we have like people on the left like saying they care about the national debt. Like that's new. That's a little bit of progress.
I think that it used to just simply be like this is the left's view of economics. We is richest.
Keynes did nothing wrong.
No, yeah. The way I always look at Keynesian economics is basically it's like saying you don't need to go to sleep because you can just drink an energy drink, and then after that one wears off, you just drink another energy drink, and
you have to be sleep deprived to get sleep.
And then they're like, yeah, but remember that time when we went to sleep? Like the time we slept, it was awful. We didn't get anything done, and it's like, yeah, that's.
And we were so tired when we woke up; it was horrible.
It was horrible. Because had a Red Bull.
It's because I want to fight, you know, the far left totally, from economics to philosophy to social issues, you know, sociology. I want to beat them at their own game. So if they, because you know, like it's not the feminists and whatever it's not just a social thing that they have. They've got ideas and beliefs on practically everything you can possibly think. And if we're going to beat them.
Well, and last week, yeah, we went into it a little bit with how, like, because administrations in education have, like, you know, boomed so large, like, now they have this whole structure, and, like, it really does kind of start with education. Like, it's...
Anyway, let's get this article going.
Well, we have an article here, and it was on my Facebook. Actually, it was Elizabeth Hobson had shared it, and I thought it was like the headline's really funny, but then it's one of these stories where like the more you read into it, it actually gets funnier and funnier. But can you guys see it?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you can. Okay, good. So it says, not gay enough to stay in Britain. Pensioner, 67, faces being sent back to Malaysia where homosexuality is illegal because the Home Office says he's not got a boyfriend.
Oh.
But it's actually funnier than that. It's funnier than that. He's like gone in front of multiple judges.
Though. It's kind of
no. But here's why it's funny. That the judges keep saying, like, we don't think you're gay. We think you're just pretending and just going to all these events and just like faking being gay. And it's like multiple judges are like, no. We decided you're not gay. Like, And like, wait, why isn't my okay? And like,
I wonder how many of the terrible guys at Pride are just dressed up like that for some weird ulterior motive.
How can I prove it?
Well, that's the thing. So he's trying to prove it by like being part of all these like LGBTQ like groups and all these like advocacy things or whatever, right? So, and he keeps saying, I tried to tell the Home Office, I'm 67, I don't need sex. Like, it just how ridiculous the whole thing is. And it just shows like how freaking stupid it is to have like these special immigration things for like gay persecution. Because now there's just an incentive for people to be like, oh, no, I'm just going to pretend to be gay and then go to the UK or like just do whatever I want. Like he got to the UK by overstaying a visa. He was married in Malaysia and had a couple of kids. And like my theory is he just wanted out, right? So he just told her like I'm gay, and then she was like, well, that's not cool. Like I'm ending this, right? And then he's like, good, I'm free, right? And then he just figured like, oh yeah, I'll just like go to these marches or whatever and then pretend to be gay. But then like he thought, oh, these people are actually really nice to me and they're really accepting, so I just want to like keep being friends with them. So I think he's just like living that lie. It's like, it's like their gay grandfather kind of thing.
I just had a really interesting thought. Tell me what you think of this. So Trump is decriminalizing homosexuality or persecution. You know what I'm trying to say? Around the world. It's trying to make it illegal, trying to ban the persecution of homosexuals. Well, maybe that's just because of his immigration views and he doesn't want a bunch of people trying to seek homosexuality asylum.
He's just trying to come out ahead of it, just stop all the stop the homo loophole, the fruit loophole in immigration.
You're on point. You're on point. He's trying to figure out how to get people to stay where they are.
I want to make a video. I hope you don't mind if I steal the fruit loophole.
Go ahead. Yeah. Because when I coin a term, I want it to spread. That is the point. I have this whole thing. It's like send an email, change the world. Like if you have an idea, I just want it out there.
Yeah.
Like, I have so many ideas that I just tell people because like, I just hope this thing exists. Even without credit.
My thing when I come up with something that's kind of like small like that, if somebody uses it in a video, I just hope that they say, "I got this from Prince of Queens. He coined the phrase," or something. That's the only thing I hope. That's all.
I mean, there's a chance he's like actually gay, and it kind of makes the story sad. But it's also just like the whole thing is just like it's so ridiculous. You literally have these judges sitting there like scratching their chins, like, does he seem gay enough? I don't know. Like it's just so ridiculous. Like this is the West. This is the West.
Yeah.
Like,
it also explains why pride parades are so not fun anymore.
Yeah. No, they're pride parades. Well, I only went to the actual pride parade when I was like 15. Every other year I've like missed the actual parade.
Yeah.
But I went like last year for the very first time, and it was fine. It was actually a fairly wholesome event. Like we didn't have a lot of like the big slutty displays. It was actually a very kind of like family friendly community sort of thing. Which is fine, but it's just like
boring.
I hate the concept of gay pride.
I don't think.
Why are you proud of it? It's not an accomplishment. Like, stop.
I don't think I've ever enjoyed a parade at all. Period.
I never go to them. I've never been interested in them.
I tried to watch the New Year's parade for Chinese New Year here in Hong Kong, and like I didn't get there early enough, and like I thought there was gonna be a stampede. At one point, I thought I was gonna fucking die. Like and then like I found like a weird like corner of a thing where I like sat on a fence, and then I could see it.
Oh, I've got a question for you. What do you think about those guys who want to return Hong Kong to Britain? Isn't it like a small, tiny little movement? This fringe group that like we want to be part of Britain again. What do you think of that?
Oh no, there's all kinds of people who like don't want China to take over Hong Kong. Like especially because like now Mandarin is like taking over, and a lot of people are just like that's not what we speak. Like there's like I don't know like a lot of details about it. There's still a number of I think it's like 20 30 something. Like it's a couple of decades off. I guess that's coming up, isn't it? It's kind of one of the reasons I came here, though, is I was like, oh, I don't know if like Hong Kong is going to get ruined by communism, so I should come check it out.
What do they mostly speak?
Cantonese.
Cantonese.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, also English. Like,
I'm English.
You don't need any Chinese to live here at all. My Mandarin's like worthless.
Always wanted to go to Hong Kong.
It's like worthless here. Yeah.
Do you speak any Cantonese?
I learned gai is chicken.
Oh.
I'm learning all the words for food.
Yeah,
that's all I really need to know.
I used to be able to speak Japanese well enough to order food, ask directions, ask you very trivial questions about your mood, and like read the alphabet. Like if I needed to read what a neighborhood was written, I knew how to do that. You know what I mean? Like what the stop was. Like I'm like, oh, that's this sort of. But that was the limits of my Japanese.
I learned how to read a little bit of like hiragana just because I used to like get a lot of J-pop CDs, and like I need to be able to type the track lists because like I didn't know how to have like an Asian keyboard yet or anything like that, so I'd have to like figure out what song was which.
Yeah, the alphabets hiragana and katakana are actually not really that hard to learn because they directly translate to English phonetics. Like it's just like instead of saying like having vowels and consonants, everything is paired like vowels and consonants paired together. So there's like ka, ta, sa, you know, like or like ka, ku, ke, you know, like just things like that.
Yeah, it's pretty organized. It's pretty easy.
Yeah.
Whereas like Chinese is definitely not like that. But anyway,
yeah, well, no, and then they insert the kanjis into Japanese too, and then it becomes not so easy. So, yeah, but okay.
Oh yeah, because if you didn't use any of that, like they would just think it's retarded. It would be like typing like in all caps, like having every like single syllable like laid out.
Yeah. So okay, we're talking about that. What was the other things that we were going to? Oh, I wanted to talk.
Being a YouTuber, it was one of them.
Yeah, being a YouTuber and being because okay, I'm gonna stop screen sharing. Derek.
Goodbye, Spacepan.
Yeah, because you know it's Mitch and I went through kind of a similar thing in I'll say it in the abstract in that we came to YouTube because we wanted to say something to, as far as I know, hey, if you correct me if I'm wrong about your position, I'm going to state my position, and I like to think that you're similar. We wanted to say something. For me, I had all this background in theater and stuff, so I knew that I was and even more specifically in theatrical monologues that I would do at like theater venues where I would read a theatrical monologue. I don't think Lordy ever actually saw me do this, but I did it at least like 10 or 12 times in San Francisco, because San Francisco doesn't have much of a theater scene in terms of, you know, actually writing a play and getting people to act it. Like you almost never really see much of that in San Francisco. It exists, but it's not what San Franciscans are into. What they are into is dance and strange performance art. That's what they like, or for that's what you can get grants to do for some reason. And so what I started doing was I started making theatrical monologues, which if you wanted to, you could call it like performance poetry, but it wasn't all like slam poetry, pretentious or anything. It was like usually very, I would say, odd, actually. And I would make a soundtrack to go along with it. And I would go up on stage. And so I'd have this electronic music playing, and I'd be like telling a story with like weird prose in it. And as soon as I started doing that, people were like, I want that at my show. Next month, I'm organizing a thing, and it's going to be a variety show, because like half the people in San Francisco can only organize like a 10-minute thing for themselves, and then they just get all their friends to act, and there's like an entire scene built around those like weird shows that are like that, you know, like just little variety shows. I think it's all because of the drag scene has so much influence in San Francisco. So I had I was doing that a lot just because people kept wanting me to do that over and over. And so it seemed pretty natural for me to shift over to YouTube, and I started doing such things. And then I was speaking about the social justice culture, you know, kind of ruining everything that I knew. And I kind of feel like Mitch sort of was saying the same type of thing, and it's just here to have something to say. And then you end up meeting people that you think have stuff in common with, and you think must be cool people, and you think must have come for the same reasons as you. And then it turns out that a number of them came for incredibly bizarre reasons, and you can get a number of them just want attention. A number of them just seemingly have weird obsessive social personalities where they will obsess over certain people or something, and they can't stop talking about them. And like there's these people that will make 15 videos about some other YouTuber that's never even acknowledged them in any way, and who's not even necessarily that big. Like, I mean, that can happen. Like if okay, for example, Kizum Fowler, if you guys
don't like him,
he is whatever. He can be a good guy. I feel bad for him sometimes because I feel like, I mean, he's finally starting to red pill himself. It was after the Covington thing, because he came down really hard on the Covington boys and then found out that it was entirely a hoax. And he was like, I need to stop doing this. It's not good for my emotional health to get worked up by this BS. And so he's starting to undo himself. But then there's this smaller YouTuber who's like, okay, so Kizum probably has like 4,000 followers. This other guy is like, this other guy's like maybe 1,000 or so, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he has made like all these videos about Kizum, and they're like 40 minutes long of him just watching Kizum's videos and pausing them and talking. And he's some other gay guy who's like, this guy's probably just around 50 years old. Kizum's, significantly older than 50. I would say he's probably in his 60s. And this guy is just like obsessed with Kizum. It's this weird thing, and that can happen on YouTube, and you don't realize it until it does. And you're like, oh my god, there's these people out there. And I feel like that kind of happened to both Mitch and I when we were like innocently here, made a bunch of friends, talked to a bunch of people, and then all of a sudden some things kind of like went south. And it's a strange thing. I feel like things are cool right now in terms of like, I don't feel like there's anybody who's obsessed with me at the moment trying to like, mess with me. But like, there's so many weird things can happen, like people creating mini sock puppets to harass you on Twitter. And I do mean harass. Like, I do actually mean just constant notifications that people are insulting you, and it comes very suddenly. I was getting people were trying to like, I guess somehow frame me with some drama that I wasn't even included on, but they wanted me to be. They wanted to make it look like I was included in some drama last year. And they were sending people to try to get me to go into a Discord chat so that I would talk about something. And then I guess they were probably going to be recording it. Like, all these really, really weird things can happen. And I think that when you are below 1,000 subscribers, it's really hard to be aware of just how crazy some of these people are. And I can even have an example if anyone wants to take a look. This some recent thing happened, and Derek remembers this. There's a very small channel who, this guy has mental problems or something. Like his name is Fat Samurai Productions at the moment, and he has like numerous videos about me from some like Twitter thing that wasn't even about him. And he like started to like just make like 2 videos, and I think maybe even 3. I don't really know. I haven't gone back and looked. And it's so strange because like, you don't want to be mean to these people, because I don't want to be one of these people. I don't want to be one of these people that just says, oh, they're trolls, ignore them. But at the same time, it's like, well, how do you deal in a completely public space like YouTube, where you can't like block people or anything? Like, how do you deal with these people that actually maybe have mental problems and stuff? So yeah, I kind of wanted to veer the conversation towards there.
Well, when I joined for similar reasons, I had Gamergate. That was a big red pill moment, I guess you could say. Opened my eyes to many things and led me down this, I wouldn't say the rabbit hole, as 3 Arrows like to put it. I would say it was an intellectual journey myself.
Oh my god, I hate 3 Arrows.
I hate him too, commie bastard. He's boring as well. That's the one thing that people want me to respond to him. It's like, he's boring. No, thank you. And I don't really do response videos anymore. Maybe I will eventually. Maybe if I could stomach him. But anyway, I joined.
Well, he's so boring. Like him and Sean. Like the only reason that so him, Sean, H Bomber guy, Innuendo Studios, ContraPoints, they are all the same channel. It's just that ContraPoints has the biggest budget. Like that's the only difference.
So I joined because I wanted to get my voice heard and also just as an outlet as well. And it was a hobby as well. And hopefully that could have been something I did full time. It's not happening yet, but whatever. And I noticed increasingly some of the people who I once considered allies are now on the opposite side. And it's like some of them, I guess it's been a more sincere change of heart, though I don't know how you could end up sincerely going down that road, but whatever. I just can't see it from their perspective because I'm not them. And then there's the ones who I personally think did it for the attention and for the money, not naming names. And then there's the ones who I think they joined, but they were already kind of SGW anyway. And they're like, yeah, I think there's some things that aren't quite right. And then they join in and then they meet these people. And then they're like, oh, this isn't what I thought it would be. Oh, I haven't achieved anything that I wanted to. I'm going to switch.
Or like, there's assholes here too. SJWs are such assholes. SJWs are such assholes. Oh, the anti-SJWs are assholes too. Oh God, no. I have no social life anymore. It's like, okay, yeah, everyone's assholes. There's nowhere that you're gonna go in the world where not everyone's an asshole because 99% of all people are assholes. Turns out.
Yeah, I saw Vadim Newquist on Twitter, right? And he's like, I typed in SJW and I found all these thumbnails. Oh, my cringe. And I'm like, you did the exact same thing not too long ago, you asshole. And it was retweeted by people who should know better as well.
So, okay, I said that we're not gonna largely name names because I'm not mad at you. There are people that I will not name in these discussions of drama because I don't know that they will not go on to like talk about me for 3 hours straight or something. It could happen. But what I will say, there's two people that I actually made into a video that I do not mind naming. One of which I have talked to before a few times, which is Theron Meyer. That we've talked about on air fair amount, who, used to make very, very interesting videos. She's always been a very strange character. I guess that she's the type of person that like can be very intellectual and analytical, but maybe is unaware of making irrational decisions when some sort of weird trigger happens and then like all of a sudden she decides to not be logical or something. Like that's what it sort of looks like to me. But you actually know David Sherritt, who people call him David Shitrat and everything. I don't even know anything about him. I remember when I first got on YouTube and I was watching videos, he was like some sort of MRA and he would talk with sunglasses on, big aviator sunglasses. And
do you know why he did that?
You what?
Do you know why he did that?
So he wouldn't get recognized?
No. He did it because he didn't want pause face and be used as on thumbnails and get the piss taken out of. That's why.
Because he didn't want what?
He didn't want to get the piss taken out of him because he didn't want people to pause it and he'd have this weird face. You know, when you're in the middle of a conversation.
Oh, yeah.
And your face goes weird when you pause it.
Oh, yeah. I do the ContraPoints. Every time I show ContraPoints, I have that like really weird photo.
But the irony is that people found faces where he looked weird in the ridiculous glasses anyway. Very few people can actually pull it off. But anyway, like, yeah, he was an MRA. He was also a MGTOW for at least a little while until he found some virtual pussy, you know? But that guy was always interesting. Like, I remember, like, before he made the switch, he actually was becoming more radical in the opposite direction. Like, he was becoming more MRA, I felt, if there's such a phrase anyway. Because he was making these, like, short mini documentaries, and the last one he made was basically positing the question, are they terrorists? Feminists? You know, the whole movement, is it just based on that terrorism? Yeah. And we heard nothing for ages, and then he starts this slow change towards what he is now. Then it sped up. And it started really with his acrimonious split with McTell. He felt it was changing, and there was a period where MGTOW was becoming a little bit radicalized, but I think it's since veered a bit. It's plateaued. So now there's just normal MGTOWs, and there's the crazy ones, and there's the ones in the middle. And he was having an argument with the more intellectual ones, and TLD got involved, and I got involved a bit as well, because there were some things I disagreed with. And that was his acrimonious split. And then there wasn't really an acrimonious split with the MRM that I can think of. He kind of just slowly removed the label. I mean, he did fall out with them, but that was all on Twitter. It wasn't in videos.
When did he start thinking everyone was a Nazi?
Oh, God, probably last year.
Okay.
And it started with him, for some reason, he believed that, I think it was when the alt-right, funnily enough, got a lot of traction. He suddenly believed that they were this threat when they were just idiots online, you know?
When they were anonymous accounts and channels that had mysteriously, you know, skyrocketing subscriber counts, like Alternative Hypothesis.
That guy had been on YouTube.
These so real subscribers to so sane channels.
I mean, they did get a lot of views, so I think they were real people watching them. But
no, because they were constantly recommending. Like I would go on my phone. I had no idea what this Alternative Hypothesis thing was, and like I'd be on my mobile, walking to the grocery store, and it would be like, it would be some genetics video being like, mixed breed children are ugly and malnourished. Or I don't remember what it was. But
for a while.
And so that was being like recommended to me, even though, you know, like it's rational, sane videos that criticize the I guess the assumptions of the left about, you know, all races being exactly the same, blah 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 blah. Like there is arguments to be made for like genetics and stuff, you know, like actually getting into that. None of those videos would ever get recommended. It was like these people that just didn't know what they were talking about getting recommended, and I would look at it just to be like, who is this guy? So I would be one of those viewers, but I suspect that was YouTube for whatever reason wanted people to be seeing alt-right videos and wanted it to look like they were pushing it to the top of the list along with ContraPoints, Three Arrows. Like it was like they were trying to like YouTube is nothing but these two warring factions, the alt-right versus the Antifas. And it was like, except for most of the people who are on YouTube making content about sociopolitical issues. And
like even Kevin Logan now has 10,000 subs, when before he had barely any.
Well, he is like, you watch him talking. You watch him talking to certain people that I've been friends with, and don't want to name, but Kevin Logan sounds remarkably sane these days. Is what
he doesn't. I think he sounds just as bad. Like he had an.
I haven't watched his videos.
He's still as bad as he usually is, and like he had that Renfamous on. You know Comicsgate, right?
Yeah.
So you know that their big enemy, you know, like they're literally who is Renfamous, right? He had her on the stream, Renfamous or Renfamous.
Okay.
So basically, she was on the stream with him, and Ethan Van Sciver was like, let me debate her. And they're like, no, we won't let you debate her. And then Ethan Van Sciver managed to get like a stream with Kevin, and he eviscerated Kevin to the point that Kevin muted him twice and then kicked him. And I'm like, never change, Kevin, never change.
I guess I've never really actually sat around watching Kevin Logan.
You would bet you're better off watching ContraPoints than him.
Well, in what way?
Just because he's brain dead. He's a moron.
Oh,
so stupid.
Yeah, ContraPoints is like, I would say around 70 to 75% of the intellectual bell curve. And has
nothing. That's the thing.
What does it do?
A lot of the time she says nothing. Like, it's just empty rhetoric.
Oh, yeah. It's not very good at articulating its positions. But I think that's actually deliberate. My theory about ContraPoints is that it Yeah, it's no, I don't. I won't
I
refer to
know.
this. I feel like there's like a weird Riley Dennis like
Oh,
mental
there is, but
illness.
Really, you should say them, like a plural pronoun, because of all the different personalities, and like even the term ContraPoints is like plural, right? I think the plural pronouns
True,
make
yeah.
the most sense.
No, and like I don't want to be like I'm not doing this as a harassment thing. It's more that like I really, really sincerely doubt in the pit of my soul that this person is actually trans. I think that there's
I don't think so.
there's so many good pits of or so many instances of like direct evidence that this person decided to start feeling like maybe they had gender dysphoria while they were in their late 20s and then went on hormones after cross-dressing for a while on YouTube. That makes me really, really I don't want anyone to think that that's some sort of normal transition story. Like that's not like don't tell the kids that that's what happens. You know what I mean? Like and so that's why I refuse to like I don't want to be like I'm not that guy because I'm not saying that trans people aren't real and that that they don't deserve our respect. But I also don't want to give this person validity as a valid and normal transition because I think it's so suspect. That's why I say like it or Contra.
Well, with Kevin Logan, like he's just.
Oh wait, I wasn't done talking about Contra though. The thing is that I think that Contra has a team working with them, like Anita Sarkeesian did, because the video quality improved so dramatically right around that time that there was a 25 million budget coming
Also,
from YouTube, and I think that ContraPoints deliberately obfuscates their arguments to make them hard to like with run-on sentences and a lot of irrelevant information every time and to the point where you have to like really like most people would have to take notes on what is actually being said with any given 5 minutes and like write it down for themselves. What was the point? And the point will only be like a sentence long, but it will be this like 5-minute thing. And then if you finally you can boil down this like 45-minute video into something that you could write out in a page, and then you'd be like, wait, and I disagree with it. And that's what bothers me about ContraPoints. I feel like ContraPoints is actually fairly sophisticated propaganda, and I don't feel like ContraPoints itself is coming up with it. This person named Natalie, I think that it's a team, and that's what creeps me out about it.
Well, what's interesting is that ContraPoints was originally part of the atheist community a long time ago. Like we're talking 2011 time.
Wasn't it like nicotine or something?
No, ContraPoints always owns ContraPoints. I'm pretty sure.
No, because like I searched for I have a video called about ContraPoints being a trans trender, or it's called is ContraPoints. What if ContraPoints really isn't trans? Well, and there I have old footage, and I'm pretty sure it was nicotine something.
Well, I think at some point they were also called ContraPoints because somebody I know who was also in the atheist community remembered it as ContraPoints. And what's interesting is when they came back with the video. I remember that video didn't show the face, if I remember correctly. Maybe it did, but it got loads of views for somebody who'd been gone for years. Yeah,
something very strange was. Well, and then they had the framed picture of Anita Sarkeesian in the background.
I think that might have been later. Maybe.
Did you see video came out of exposing more political shills on Twitter?
But I do think, actually, now that I think about it,
I'm curious. Lordy, I'm curious what you're having to say. Does that directly relate to what we're talking about right now?
Well, because you're talking about ContraPoints potentially being like a strategic, paid for, sophisticated propaganda machine. And
there's no potentiality about it. This is definitely what's going on with this person. Like, there's like I really like. I want to make a whole video called. It's going to be called ContraPoints is Anita Sarkeesian 2.0 because it's not just 2 or 3 things. It's like 20 pieces of very obvious evidence that this person is. It's just like this person has never admitted out loud, yes, I get the same corporate money that Anita Sarkeesian got, but it's pretty obviously is. Yeah.
All right.
Sorry, keep going.
Speaking of Anita, Sargon just made a video on her and her fans.
I will be watching that.
I'll be watching that.
Yeah. But what were you saying, Mitch?
I was just I'm just fascinated by how all of a sudden in like 2016, 2017, the algorithm suddenly favors them. Isn't that interesting? And then people begin to say, "Oh, it's the new left. The anti-SJWs are losing their touch." It's like, one, these people aren't new. None of their arguments are new. Only the production standards have increased. Which, by the way, they weren't the only people that had good production standards. But it's like, I think increasingly we're gonna have to start responding to them again. Like,
Yeah. People, I think people have gotten lazy, and it
only random
well,
accounts.
also I think that they learned that if they made their videos long enough and tedious enough, and with enough like $2 words and run-on sentences, people would not want to make response videos to them because the response videos wouldn't be so entertaining.
Yeah, that was my initial thing.
That's why I think that they started obfuscating their arguments and sounding like ContraPoints. And somebody in that chat said something very interesting, which is Sven Pi says ContraPoints is frustrating because they get so close to making a salient point, but immediately step back because it's outside of the bounds of approved talking points. That's, I would say, very, very close to what's going on. But what I think is it's actually more diabolical what's going on. ContraPoints is pretending to give accurate representation of the opposing opinions, viewpoints, but ContraPoints never actually finishes that viewpoint. ContraPoints is, like, okay, so the term for doing this is steel manning. You try to say, I understand this argument, and I'm going to make this argument that you're making as best as I possibly can to prove that I understand the argument of why there should be more diversity in the workforce. And now I'm going to say why affirmative action is bad. Like, that's what I would do. ContraPoints pretends to do that by pretending to accurately represent somebody like my own position, but not accurately representing it, and then disproving the non-accurately represented position. It's a very sophisticated version of straw manning that the ContraPoints team is actually pretty good at writing, and it fools a lot of people. I'm amazed by how many people are actually fooled by this, because of course, like, I went to school, my theater program, I had like 2 or 3 different college professor type. We didn't have professors at my school because of the way that the school is set up. They were all people who actually worked in theater and stuff. Like, that was how my school was. So it was New York theater makers. They directly trained me in propaganda. Like, they were like, this is how political propaganda works. This is what it looks like, blah, 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 blah. So for me, it's like, I look at ContraPoints and I'm like, oh God, this is so obviously propaganda. I hate this person. But a lot of people are like, they watch like 2 ContraPoints videos and they're on NPC again. And it's like, what is going on? So, yeah. Sorry, I always go off because I really, how like Anita Sarkeesian came on the scene, and people forget this and they would like to revise history and pretend this didn't happen. But like half of the atheist community was like, I like Anita Sarkeesian. She is good. Feminism is good. We should be atheist plus, blah, blah, blah. And Steve Shives was one of them. He turned into this like feminist whacker.
Oh, yeah.
And all these people were mad about it. And then it took a while. And then all these people were like, no. She's a liar. Like, she's making completely illogical arguments, and she's lying about the games. And finally people started making a bunch of response videos. But for a while, people were like, you're obsessed with Anita. You're obsessed with her. Why are you so obsessed? Like, I feel kind of like that with ContraPoints because it is getting so much attention. And I'm like one of the only people who's like, yelling.
Attention.
What?
It was in the, did I send you that article about her in the press?
Oh God, yeah, like mainstream press, like all the time. Trying to say that it's the new Oscar Wilde. That's the most absurd.
What?
Yeah, there's an article in The Verge said ContraPoints is YouTube's new Oscar Wilde. It's like, that's the least true thing that has like ever been said ever. I feel like I'm that person who would have been like the first to notice that Anita Sarkeesian's lying constantly. I'm like, wait, why aren't you guys talking about this? So that's why I talk about it so much. I
think a way to get around the fact that it would take so long to respond to them in an actual proper video is just live stream it.
I know. I need to make a video called ContraPoints is Anita Sarkeesian 2.0, and then I also need to make maybe 3 videos that just decimate about three, like I need to decimate the Jordan Peterson video because it will be easy.
Mm.
I need to make a video decimating the race. Like ContraPoints has a video about how the concept of race is inaccurate, but it's a non-statement that is actually made. ContraPoint says, basically, in a nutshell, race, the way that we perceive it, is actually not logical because the term the race classifications were come up with a few hundred years ago, and therefore because we have learned that it's more complicated than that due to genetics, then the way that we define race is outdated. We're all one race, the human race. Oh, except by the way, we should still remember to categorize people according to identity politics because reasons. Like, but only if you're a leftist. Like ContraPoints just kind of slips that in at the end, and like it's a really, really, really long video, so people like don't notice that just happened. But I can make a short video being like, wait, this is what this person actually says. It makes absolutely no sense, and you just didn't notice because it took like 35 minutes to get there. So
it's almost like one of those like like checkered optical illusions, right? Where you have like a black square and a white square, but then like if you put them next to each other, you're like, it's the same. You know, like it's like that, but in video form.
Yeah.
Like a lot of what she's building just is like really like big illusions.
Yeah. It is. Yeah. So
I think the other thing too is like because she depicts them as these characters, right?
It is not.
Oh, sorry, them.
Yeah.
Right. It's these characters, right? It's not explicitly a position. These are unique characters, right? So on that standard, they can't be like held accountable to like a Steelman standard is like kind of a way to.
Yeah, and literally, not a single one of its characters are the least bit believable, and that makes me deeply angered as an actual playwright. When you write plays, you're supposed to at least strive to making characters that you could believe might exist, and none of ContraPoint's characters are even like, it's like none of these seem like real people.
They're cartoons, yeah. They're
not
cartoons.
even just, some of them are cartoons. Some of them just seem like people that like are that have no personality. Like sometimes they say one line that makes sense, but then 30 seconds later they say something that doesn't seem like that person would actually be saying, and it's just like this. It's so bizarre, so bizarrely offensive to me. This is so. Yeah.
I also just want to add that like every single time someone says they're going to Steelman something, I think that I've never seen an example of it. I think every single time it's a straw man.
Yeah, well, yeah, you don't say you don't say you do it. You don't say you're going to do it when you actually do it. You just sort of do it. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I think this is the position you're trying to argue. You don't say I'm going to steal man the position, because that would make you annoying.
The most like annoying version of it that I saw was it was like a video on MGTOW, like a response to TFM that this one guy made. Oh, I forgot what his name was. Started with an A, I think. Like Andrew. No, it wasn't that, but yeah, anyway, it was just awful. We shouldn't get into that. It was just awful.
Yeah, I'm still trying to understand the concept of the steel man. I'm like,
okay. So
it's just the opposite of a straw man. Like you just try to like.
It's like making sure to argue your opponent's point as best as you possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, all leftists do is straw man non-leftists.
Mm-hmm.
Like you know, if we say you know, what would be a good example of, we would just be like, I say, yeah, it's perfectly normalized in mainstream media to be completely racist to white people. And then they say, oh, so you think that you're oppressed? And it's like, that's a straw man. Mm-hmm. But if they were to say, yes, it is absolutely normalized to be racially discriminatory towards people that are seen as white in mainstream media. But I think that is okay. You know, like, do you see what I'm saying? Like, mm-hmm. First they could steal man what I'm actually saying, and then go on to argue their position. Because what their position is ultimately, I don't care. I am racist towards white people. Like that. That is what they're going to end up saying. So they have to straw man you to try to make it look like they're saying something different.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with like the MRM and feminism. They always say, oh, so like they just flip feminism and say like they used to do an inverted patriarchy theory and say, oh, so you're saying men are oppressed, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Which technically men are.
I mean, yeah, I don't even think it's that inaccurate,
I just hate that word. It sounds like it just sounds like taking their terms. But if you look in the let's actually look at the dictionary definition of oppressed. So oppressed.
The other one I hate is when people equate the NAP with pacifism. It's another like really annoying one.
Subject to harsh and authoritarian treatment. Who isn't if it's not men? Like, come on, it's true. Men are oppressed. But it's I think it's more like we aren't saying that we're oppressed in the way that feminists say that women are oppressed, and so that's why it makes us mad.
I had an encounter with a staunch feminist last night, and it was very powerful. Where she's talking about all the men that have abused her in her life. And we're standing there holding space, being like, that does not mean that men are all abusers. Like, we acknowledge, like, even though you were hurt by men does not mean that all men are bad. And it was like holding that space.
Where was this?
This was here in, last night I went out to an event, and this was an artist in the local San Francisco community who knows that, I've taken a stance as a men's rights advocate and wanted to talk to us. And so we started communicating and, and of course the story of the abuse from her past comes up and.
Oh, she had to make it all about her.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, so keep going. I mean, was it positive?
Yeah, it was ultimately because you after she got really triggered when we were like, okay, so thanks for sharing your painful past. What does that have to do with us? Kind of moment.
Yeah. Remember when I think it was the first stream that you came on with me, and I was like, never even cater to their terms. You always have the right to say, I don't care about your trauma.
Yeah. I tried to do it in the nicest way possible.
Like, I literally do not care, and I do not have to care, and it's not going to influence me at all, and it might make you very mad.
Well, yeah, it's so dumb. Because it's always anecdotes, right? And then you can just trade these anecdotes one for one. And then it's like,
but yours
distracts from the whole conversation.
But yours never count. Yours never count. People like feminists are always like, that must have been really, really horrible for you, and like that must have been like this really, really terrible thing. But it like absolutely has nothing to do with reality in any way whatsoever. Except for theirs, like does. Theirs is the thing that is the most important. So.
I actually do play Oppression Olympics with them. Like, if they want to play that game, I'll be like, okay, like let's do it. I'll beat you at your stupid game, and then we can talk about what actually matters. Like, I've said a lot of mean things to people claiming to be rape victims on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Whatever. Like, they're asking for it. The mean comments, not the rapes. To be clear.
Yeah.
That was a great little random happenstance of a sentence.
Or both, fuck it. I mean, who cares? It's Jesus, like.
Yeah. Half of the feminists I've known, okay, and I don't know how true this is with you other guys, but I know Lordy, having lived in San Francisco, one of the kink capitals of the world, you have known a bunch of feminists who totally have rape fantasies.
Well, yeah.
There's not like San Francisco is like a kink sex dungeon, sex cult subdom whole world here, and it's run by women and submissive men, and I've personally known women who have worked in dungeons and make money in this completely consensual kink culture of San Francisco. Yeah.
That reminds me, Crystal Garcia had done like some videos, kind of like a sort of sex negative approach to this, where she's basically totally against BDSM, and she's like, it's totally not cool, it's not healthy, it's a bunch of bullshit. Like she's just like slamming the culture, and like it was a really fresh and really interesting perspective. And I don't know, it kind of makes a lot of sense. Like it kind of reminds me of when
I need to actually watch those. Could you send me them?
Yeah, I'll send them to you. But it reminds me of like Camille Paglia. Like she got in a lot of trouble one time because she was just pointing out, she's like, okay, if you look at human biology and human evolution, it's like thousands and thousands of years of like men and women fucking each other, and then you turn out gay and you think there's nothing wrong with you, right? It's like yeah, like that makes perfect sense. Like, and then it's kind of like with BDSM, it's like, okay, you're combining.
Tell me Camille Paglia's argument again.
Basically just like of course there's something abnormal about being gay. Of course there's something kind of, you know, it's not just saying she's not saying it's immoral, but it's like it's not all
the norm.
It's not all feng shui, right? You know, like there's
something had to have happened. Something had to happen.
Something wrong with you.
Something had to have happened to get to this point. Yeah, I mean, like I have said this publicly so many times. If it is a possibility that gay guys aren't born that way, and it's like nurture, and you know, guys just like actually like at a deep visceral subconscious level not wanting to enter into relationships with women, I would be a prime example.
There's a lot. The more I get close to like straight men and I see what their lives are like, I'm very, yeah, there's a lot of shit that goes into being in a relationship with a woman. It seems very complicated.
Yeah.
Well, it's like walking on eggshells, basically. Even just no strings attached shit, you have to walk on eggshells.
Mitch, how long was the longest girlfriend you had?
3 months.
Oh, that's what I was mostly like at your age, and then I started having weird junky boyfriends that would last like a year or 2 years.
I've been single for a while, so you know, I've not really had girlfriends. It's just been people who I've been fucking, you know.
We remember people in the chat that he got a new haircut and he's pretty cute. So if you want to tip me, I've been getting a few super chats. You guys are like, I'm kind of sad. Like, yeah, if you give me a good tip and ask for the haircut, we'll comment on it, because he's pretty cute guy actually. Has it been hard for you to have? Okay, so I think that a lot of gay MRAs in particular, we think about, it's like when we think about dating a woman, it would be like, oh, it would be kind of like it's sort of to quote Jack Nicholson's character from As Good as It Gets, it would be kind of like dating a man, except you take away reason and accountability.
Pretty much. Nah, I mean, it depends on the woman you're with. Everybody's an individual. Like,
I know you legally have to say that, right?
Well, no, it is. It is.
We have to have like we do a lot of spraying, not all everywhere, you know.
I would say that, oh, sorry.
It could literally be anything. Accountability from, oh, I dropped this. Well, you shouldn't have held it by the lid like that.
Oh, the guy.
Like that guy, but they'll blame you, you know. To, oh, I personally agreed to this deal that we'd have in our relationship, and now that you decided you want to consensually end it, I'm complaining, and you're just this person who uses women. It's like, well, no, we talk like adults to sort this out, and you are now pretending that never happened. That I used you and I didn't. That happened to me once.
Taking control of the narrative.
She was she was trying to sort of gaslight you in terms of in like getting revise history to make it sound like you're crazy.
Luckily, I don't think people really cared, because she was a bit weird.
Yeah, everyone can tell when someone starts just gossiping about shit.
And then she had the cheek to hug me once in the pub. I'm like, get off. Thought.
Oh, classic narcissistic tendency, honestly.
She was quite weird. And then I've had the last two, quote unquote, like, I don't know. The rest of the stuff I've had has been online, and it's like, you get even more weirdos.
I think, okay, this is sort of a little theory of mine. I think that every woman out there is crazy, but it tends to be in a fairly similar way because our society conditions women that to be crazy in these particular ways. Like it's perfectly acceptable for you to act like that, and so on top of the ways that maybe you might naturally be based on biology, you are also completely excused when you act like a child in this way, and it's expected if you're a woman, right? And that's a pain in the ass, but you can sort of learn to deal with women in that way. You know, like I think that if there's some straight guys who always have girlfriends, and it's somehow they can do it and everything, and they're usually decent enough guys. Sometimes they're like good enough looking to be good looking, but they're not like hot. So it's like somehow they must have figured something out, or maybe they just have a big dick. I don't know. But the other thing is with gay guys, it's not exactly a walk in the park. It's not like you're just like dealing with men. You're dealing with men that are all distinctly crazy in their own very distinct, unpredictable way that you will have to learn about and decide if you want to get over or not get over. Because I don't think that there's any sort of uniform pattern to how and why gay guys are crazy. I mean, there's some common ones, but mostly when you actually start really like, dating guys for a few months, it's like, oh, wait. Oh, this is okay. And every gay guy has like lots of issues, like period.
Everyone.
And that's
it's become a game.
Yeah. And so that's where it's different, I guess. It's like if dating a woman is running a gauntlet that you can get practice at, dating a gay guy would be like a slot machine that occasionally just like shits all over you.
Literally.
Well, as they say, don't date younger guys. They'll shit on your dick and fall in love.
Well, recently I've been whenever I have some kind of success, or like I think I'm in there, and I get somebody's number, they just radio silence. And then I've tried the internet dating thing. It's weird, like, you try Tinder, all that kinds of stuff, and like they just don't respond to you, and yet they're out and they complain that they can't get anybody.
You know what though? I think that's because of the Tinder algorithm. I heard the way it works is you're supposed to always swipe right for every single person, right? Because if you ever swipe left, it makes your profile come up less often.
Oh,
I don't know what applies to like.
That's so dumb. Why does every single algorithm is like made by an evil person?
I think that's
has there ever been an algorithm that didn't try to like actually annoy us?
Well, I mean, that's robots taking over the world has been a trope for a long time, right? And that's how it's happening.
Yeah.
Sorry. Explain to me. Is there a reason? Is there a reason?
The idea is that it's like, I don't know, maybe they want to promote like if you're more likely to say yes and have a match, that means that
you're sluttier and you're going to be on Tinder more often or something. Oh my god!
Basically, probably means more eyes on the thing means more advertising.
Yeah, but it doesn't explain them not talking.
More eyes because more matches. They want more matches because people get a serotonin jump when they get matched.
Oh my god, that's so dumb that it comes down to that. Like, I mean. I just feel like that's not even very, like, I feel like there's so many, like, you can make like 3 algorithms and it would be smart and it would make people use Tinder more, like, and not have this like horrible Tinder culture. Like I was at San Francisco, that Mission Chinese restaurant that's like it's like this mega hipster. It got like a best restaurant in America. It's definitely overrated, but it does have some pretty good stuff. I went there one time for the first time by myself, and there was a Tinder date, and it was obviously first date, and the guy was there was like a pause in the conversation. And the guy was like, "So I'm thinking like maybe I should have like memorized your profile so I know exactly what to say to you. And he tried to say it like it was a joke, and she's like, oh, ha, ha, ha. I was like, oh God, it must be horrible to be a straight person who's like, you doing this, especially. You know what I mean? Like, because with gay guys, well, no, the gay phone app's terrible. I don't even use them. Anyhow, sorry, I'm just sort of ranting at this point. Oh, and I got a super chat from Miles Kinslow, who's been so great with the super chats. Hey, Prince, do you think feminists left ever have fantasies about Trump? Maybe an attraction to alpha maleness?
Of course they do.
Yeah, of course.
Women.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they imagine him with like a really big dick for some reason, or I don't know.
I think
No, people get upset when Milo calls Trump daddy.
Oh, daddy. They've been calling Bernie
hate-
Sanders daddy recently, haven't they? Even Kyle Kulinski, like, Daddy Bernie. He's like, no, please.
Oh God,
no.
Bernie, it's so tragic. You know what's sad? They're trying to sabotage him and say like the identitarian left like hates him, blah blah blah. I don't notice that necessarily being true so far. Like I've noticed.
He's that bitch. Why would they hate him?
There's all these gay guys on my profile that have turned against Bernie towards Kamala.
Oh, okay. So Kamala Harris Spray does have support.
No, yeah, they see it as literally any vote that Sanders gets is a vote that could have gone to a woman. So they're all stolen.
But what about Uncle Joe?
Oh God, I really hope it's
Let me
Joe
just
Biden.
put my arm around you.
No. I want the presidential debates to be between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, because I want him to embarrass the ever-loving shit out of an incompetent intersectional, like, because okay, the intersectional feminist culture is pittering out. It is on its death throes, but they still think it's a good idea to try it. And she is so incompetent. And I just want him to, you know how he was so savage to Hillary Clinton? Like he was like, well, she's like, well, good thing you're not the president, because you'd be in jail. You know, like I want him to do that kind of crap to her and just be like, just embarrass the crap out of her in a way that only Trump would. You know, because I want to see that. Like I would have these, times in Facebook where, I would sort of do that to intersectionals that are just like, how dare you call me racist? I'm a Latino and I'm blah, 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 blah. And I was just, read them to filth and everything, but it's never so exciting as it would be with sort of Trump. So that's why I want it to be her. Because I want to see that type of person embarrassed. It would be kind of cool if it was Bernie in some ways, because we would see a better debate. But I mean, do you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Artist XXX1900 asked us, what's the stream about and what did he miss?
That's a good question.
That's a great question.
Do you know what we missed? We missed
Mitch's haircut.
Yeah.
We've already talked about it.
But we still haven't gotten the super chat in favor of it.
Yeah, in favor. Mitch's
I don't think
haircut
people
is big reveal.
What's up?
Oh, I don't think people want to see it.
I guess not. I don't know what to say.
You sound disappointed.
I am. I'm actually perpetually disappointed by how few gay men I actually have in my audience. Like,
apart from these two guys, No,
because like sometimes I'll get gay men, sort of, but like overall, I think it's probably less than 500 gay men that I really have in my audience.
Probably more than me.
Well, probably, but like it's sad because like I'll make a video distinctly about gay male issues, and they always dramatically get less views than my like general videos about the left and stuff. Like it's like my channel is the channel that straight people go to find insights about the left from a gay guy that has met in the left. That's apparently what I mostly am. So like,
it is kind of crazy though that as far as I'm aware, we're the first ones to do a podcast that's gay people and mostly anti-SJW stuff, like
yeah, and MRA stuff that's gay.
It just seems so obvious. Like why was this boy here for so long?
Why is there not the gay MRA movement? Like, can anyone explain that? It just Okay, Jay Willie series says, I am a gay man in your audience. Thank you. I'm so happy that you're here. Thank you for being here. Oh, and Dingo says, I'm a gay man too. Oh, I love you guys for being gay. But why don't you guys want to see Mitch's hair?
Deny him.
I don't get it. I'm not even saying at this point, because this point is when the stream is like winding down. Mitch is, it's like really late where Mitch is actually, and I think he's
it's like 1 a.m.
Yeah, I think he's having to be quiet because of roommates.
Not roommates, family. But
well, you didn't. I mean, technically, they're the roommates.
Yeah.
But we do want to see. We do want him to show it, and so like it doesn't have to be like a big super chat. It could be like $1.99, just like show the hair. They might be trying to figure. I'm going to assume they're trying to figure out how to do it because you have to enter your credit cards if you haven't done it for the first time. You can send it to me. You can send it to me on Streamlabs. I can open up my Streamlabs.
I've noticed that now that comments can get you demonetized. Have you seen that?
Yeah, it's very strange.
You know where it comes from? It comes from this guy who made a video, and to be honest, I was almost convinced by it. This guy made a video about how there's pedophiles on kiddie like videos, kids of videos, right? And they're in the comment section, and they just make timestamps of inappropriate positions and things like that. And he's saying that YouTube is basically allowing this; they're actually encouraging this through the algorithm. But it's not YouTube doing that. They're not doing that at all, actually.
Every time there's some sort of scare with like an adpocalypse and blah 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 blah, I'm like, oh no, and then it turns out to be something about pedophiles. I'm like, oh, thank God. And that's like the last thing I'm worried about. Like, my channel is like the least about kids of all. Like I never.
But you know what they say? They say first they came for the pedophiles.
The thing is, like, the way he did his video was really suspect, and his channel was suspect, and it's turned out that he's a failed YouTuber, and he somehow managed to get the Adpocalypse 2.0 or 3.0. I don't know which one it is.
Oh yeah, I know about
that guy.
They try to explain. Yeah, he tried to get famous because by created Adpocalypse 2.0. I know that video exists. I haven't watched it yet. But hey, we did get that $1.99 super chat saying screw it, I want to see the hair.
$1.99 is enough.
Let's do it, Mitch.
Fine.
Okay.
Go on then.
So present to everyone.
Hang on a sec. Is he doing anything?
No, I don't see your.
There
you go. Okay.
No.
Hey,
no.
Leave it on while we criticize. And I know I want to explain to you why it's not a bad haircut.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's the deal. The good thing about this haircut, your hair, it's.
Bear in mind, I've messed with it.
I'd swipe right.
So okay, here's the thing about it is that the bangs, she could have done a better job on making the bangs a little bit more PC and not like there is a little bit of like straight across the bangs, but what she did, or he, probably she, I think is right.
Mm-hmm.
So what is good about it is that they anticipated how it's going to look as the hair grows. So this haircut will look better in 2 weeks than it does now.
Mm-hmm. And then I'll just go and get the sides cut, and then it'll be fine.
Yeah, because the thing is about Mitch's hair is that so Mitch is a very handsome man, but the thing is that he does have his worst facial feature is that he has kind of a large forehead, but he can cover it up with the hair, and you don't even notice, and he looks like totally hot. And if you look at his last video that he has about Kevin Logan, you see it and you're like, whoa, he's like fucking, like I was telling him last night, I was like, yeah, dude, if you got like buff, and I don't mean obviously nobody likes crazy veiny in the shoulder bodybuilder buff. That's not what I mean. And I also don't mean tone. Like I don't mean like when the guy who plays Spider-Man takes his shirt off in Spider-Man Homecoming. That's like too skinny. I mean Fight Club Brad Pitt. That's the body type. And if you had that, you would be like a 9, like a definite.
He's not particularly big in that film. He's
No,
kind of normal. He's always been like that.
No, but he's buff. It would be okay. So it would be doing a disservice to how many hours for how many months he spent at the gym to simply call him toned.
Well, that's how I see it. I don't know. I don't have to explain what it is. It's called. But I don't know.
Toned
but,
to me is like skinny with a six pack.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of got the. I mean, I used to do running a lot in school, and I do have a bit of an athletic body type. To be fair, naturally, like my legs are actually quite long for my height, and I've got a bit of a footballer's body, not American football like soccer. So like,
no, that's better. That's better.
Yeah, so they've got like muscular, long legs, things like that. That's what I've got basically.
Yeah,
but the rest of me is
legs are more okay. So like people generally look at the upper body. From what I have experienced in bed with men, legs are more practical because legs are what keep you on your knees while you are like. It's better to have strong leg strength for the endurance of what you're actually doing in sex as a male.
Never thought about it like that.
Well, it's true. It is definitely
and flexibility.
The more you know. I'm not actually very flexible though.
Just do those stretches, those groin stretches.
Whoops.
I've been playing DDR again. I'm trying to get good enough to do max 300 on heavy, like when I was like 13. Someday.
I don't even know where to start when it comes to working out. I don't know if I should do cardio first, muscles first. Which part of the
just get a couple of little weights to have at your computer so that if you're like watching something, you just like mindlessly start lifting the whole weight.
No, the best actually thing to do is core strengthening. What you planking, learn go see a physical therapist to see if your body is symmetrical, because that's actually what I'm doing right now. It turns out that my core is dramatically underdeveloped at a certain angle, which has made working out difficult my whole life. So I'm building up my core with these like very specific exercises, and it's hard in a way that I've never felt. Like I'm like, oh my god, I don't think I've ever felt that muscle in my entire life. Like I just didn't know I had it, you know? And the guy's like, oh, cool. That's exactly what we're going for. This is like, the idea is to straighten my hips. Right. And most of your muscles are in your core, like your hip area, your lower back area, and then even the muscles that are like in the abdomen that are below, like where you would actually see your six pack, like the ones behind that. And when you get those strong, your metabolism increases, you have more energy, and it's easier to build muscles everywhere else. But you have
metabolism as it is, to be fair.
Well, okay, so that might come from running, because running is actually really good for the core.
I haven't run for years though.
No, but core muscles, well, actually all muscles, but core muscles probably in particular are more likely to stick around if you develop them. So it might just be layover from that. Also, you're young, so muscles stay, you know. So yeah, I would say to anyone, advice: start with the core and then start working on the body parts that you want to look good.
I don't want to be like that. You know, like thingy, what's he called? Ruka Ali, right? Like he's a small dude, so he overcompensates with his big arms. I don't want to be like that. I mean, I know I'm 5'8" and all, but I'm not that small.
Is it big arms, or I thought he had nice calves?
He has like big arms and he seems really top heavy. You know what I mean? A lot of small men are like that. They overcompensate.
I didn't notice him having like weird. Okay, for general rule, having big arms, totally fine.
Not that I have a problem with it. It just looks weird. I'd rather be, you know,
not to girls. Oh, and this is another thing I wanted to talk about. Okay, Lordy and Spacepan, tell me what your general perception of this. Am I wrong to say that although there's lots of gay guys, not so many gay guys, but lots of girls will be like, oh, I don't like guys with muscles. They're lying. They're lying. Most people are lying. Most people who are attracted to men are attracted to men with muscles. And the only reason that they say that they're not is because they almost never get them, is what I'm thinking.
The attraction is totally there, but yeah, it's true. Most people know it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, the attraction is there.
Yeah.
You're going to still try and take advantage of that if you can.
Yeah, like he's like the really hot muscle otter that totally goes for bears. It's like, oh, who's the lucky bear? Or the
I remember
really
David Wu, the guy who started the Thought Audit. I remember like some years back he made a post that he was like, every single woman who says that is lying. You all have low self-esteem and you only get chubby boys, and that's why you're always saying that's what you prefer. You're just lying.
You know what's actually
He's
similar
like
to?
my favorite troll. He's like the funniest person.
You know what it's similar to is the techno producers who are just like completely non-musically talented people, and they start DJing and they realize that DJing by itself is pretty hard. Like actually DJing good records and mixing them well is actually fairly difficult. And it's a lot easier to just DJ techno that just is like bump 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 or bump and like doesn't even really have any melody or anything because it's easier to mix. And then they have to start producing, and then the only thing that they can produce is crap like that. Like they have no melodic skills, utilities in their brain to actually make good music. So then they pretend that they're into minimal techno and only minimal techno, but it's like, no, you just don't have any talent. That's why you don't make anything else.
Yeah.
That's my theory.
Agreed.
So minimal techno is like the the fat people of techno music is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's the compromise. It's the consolation prize for people that wished that they could do better. Because like when that really good okay, so like Ellen Alien is a techno DJ and producer. She was very popular last decade, and when she made her timeless album called Berlinite, and it's a mix between techno and electro, and it has a lot of melody. When that thing came out, it was wildly popular because everyone's like, oh my god, Ellen Alien, who we're used to this, just being this very, very soulless techno, has a bunch of melody. This is amazing. We all love it. Because secretly everybody always wanted that. But the people who are like the techno snobs pretend that they like the soulless, bare bones stuff. But if one of the people that is, one of the royalty among the soul, like the techno culture is so weird. It's so pretentious. It's all pretense. Like it's like these people who pretend to like things that are mostly bad. And if you admit that it's bad, they think that you just don't get it, or they say that you just don't get it. It's kind of like modern art in that way.
Mm-hmm.
And then and then one of the people that they think is cool, like Ellen Alien was one of them, makes a great album called Berlinite. And look it up, you guys. Look this up on YouTube. Look up Ellen Alien Berlinite, and it's a timeless album in terms of electronic music. It's just really good. And then everybody admits that this is like best album of the year, so like it's kind of funny.
I agree with you that techno is a lot of pretense, and people who've stopped paying attention to the music a while ago.
Yeah. One of the things I think about it is I actually talked about this in my well, maybe I talked about this in my video about DJing. I need to make more videos about DJ culture because it's something that I know I feel like I spent an entire lifetime in DJ culture that people don't know that I did on YouTube. But I feel like after a certain point, a lot of DJs, because they're always at clubs and stuff, they stop basing their tastes around what really, really excited them because they get disenchanted with electronic dance music as a whole. Mm-hmm. And then their taste becomes built around what annoys them the least. And that's when they become minimal. So it used to be this like disco house, fun, epic, EDM with like lots of synths and everything. And then it turns to like minimal techno that has very non-remarkable noises. And I think it's just because they find that less annoying because they're around the music all the time.
That makes sense too. It's totally less annoying.
Obviously, though, the greatest genre of music is Eurobeat, and nothing will ever be greater than it. They perfected music when a bunch of Italians produced music and sung it in broken English to sell to Japanese people. It's the best genre. Like, there's just absolutely no competition.
One of the things I found very funny. So, how Detroit techno is supposed to be like the techno scene that started all techno scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the thing about the Detroit techno scene is that it's what happened after disco died and hip hop was starting to take over. But there was kids in Detroit that like didn't want to do hip hop because they didn't like those people. They called them gits. And that was like, I don't know, like it maybe even stood for something. It was their little word for ghetto, like ghetto Detroit. And so they wanted to still sort of have the disco, but like there wasn't really any new disco records coming out by like the mid 80s. So they started just trying to make their own, but they didn't really know how. So that's what Detroit techno was. And it was like them just like with drum machines and synths just making these like very basic ass songs, which somehow became wildly popular. But the people who were making it, like Derek May and Juan Atkinson and Kevin Saunders, they look back at their early days and they're like, oh my God, our old records were so bad. It was like Parliament got trapped in an elevator with Kraftwerk and then played over the radio. Like, you can find quotes of them just like talking all this trash about their old music. And then, you know, there's like San Francisco pretentious gay DJs now, like the Honey Sound System guys being like, Detroit techno is the best thing that ever happened in music. It's like, not according to the people who made it, idiot.
You can basically like chart EDM's rise in Britain through one band only, and that's New Order. Like without them, without the import of the music from America through the Hacienda, you would never get EDM here. Oh, and Blue Monday, which was like the first.
Okay, yeah, there's
like that, you know.
bands, but okay,
I'm only talking for Britain, not for America, because you know they were in.
No, I'm talking Europe. I'm talking Europe and the globe as a whole. The original electronic music bands. There was 4 of them actually who started doing things at the same time. The first album that is considered pure electronic music that was put on the map, that put electronic music on the map, is Kraftwerk. I believe it's called Autobahn or something.
Oh, Autobahn, yeah. Well, they'd already been experimenting, but that is the first proper, like, when the transition was completed.
Because that album is drum machines based, and I think only electronic sound.
No, it's not drum machines, it's drum pads.
For real?
They didn't have drum machines at the time. So they had 2 drummers, and they used drum pads. They made them themselves. Yeah. Okay,
so that, yeah, and then also Tangerine Dream, which was a United States band, and then Giorgio Moroder, and then the other one that most people don't know about, and this is another timeless band that people should look up. That
Tangerine Dream
they aren't there. Okay, but Space Pan, you should look this up if you don't know it. Maybe you know it. Do you know the Yellow Magic Orchestra?
If it didn't happen at Eurovision, then I consider it to be unimportant. So, which, by the way, Darude is going to be in Eurovision this year.
No, you guys, everybody has to listen to this. The Yellow Magic Orchestra. So Yellow Magic Orchestra is Japanese people who noticed that disco was happening. And they wanted to be a part of it. And so they're like, how do we get Americans to start playing our records? Well, I know. Let's market ourselves as this extremely kitschy Asian thing. And so they call themselves the Yellow Magic Orchestra. And their songs are like disco beats made with, drum machines and stuff, because
it's a drummer.
Oh, it's a drummer.
Yeah, he's the lead singer as well. Yeah.
Okay, I think that all of them must have done it to metronomes, though. And that's that's what distinguished these people. And you listen to the Yellow Magic Orchestra, and they inserted like the type of stereotypical sounds, like melodies that they would use to illustrate Asian. Like if you would go to China in the cartoon, and it would be like like that kind of
Japanese, basically.
Yeah, but like I don't even know, like if you go to Japan, it's not like that's like what Americans, like Western people, think of as Japanese. That's what they deliberately did in their disco records. It's like all synth lines that sound like that.
They're groovy, but they're not disco.
No, it came out in the disco era.
Yeah, true.
So it was technically, like, they were trying to market it to disco, but now it's remembered as some of the original electronic music. And so yeah, that's what the Yellow Magic Orchestra was.
The fourth one would be, because there's a lot of British people at the same time that was doing that as well. There's Jean-Michel Jarre in France. He was doing that in the mid-70s. I think he was the original British electronics. There's that composer who did Clockwork Orange. She was electronic and trans. I forgot her name. Oh, what was she called?
She did French.
Oh, she's English, I think.
I don't know that.
What was she called? Wendy Carlos. That's it. Wendy Carlos. Yeah, she used to.
So I've actually studied this. That when you read electronic music history books, it's those for some exact reason that I don't exactly.
So
I think it's probably because of the lack of. I think it's maybe like the metronome, whatever, for whatever reason. I should study up it again. It was Kraftwerk, Tangerine Dream, Giorgio Moroder, and Yellow Magic Orchestra are considered the 4 first electronic music acts. And there's definitely like more exceptions, but like I think those were the ones that got like large appeal and start of movements. That being said, I think that we should be ending because we've been going for a while, and I want people to be able to watch this in the future. So. Anybody have any final words? Oh, and I have to go to the bathroom.
Nothing. I can't think of anything. Lost it, damn it.
Spaceman?
He's gone. He's disappeared.
Oh, that's weird. Lordy?
Final words.
Oh, okay. Spacepan, we're actually we're ending this show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's about that time, and I gotta go to the bathroom really bad. So, thank you everybody for joining us. Thanks for the super chats. Thank you, Mitch. Check out his channel, also known as Mitch. I will leave it in the description. Mitch, leave them a comment under this live stream so that they can click right on you.
Yeah.
I will and everything, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.